It is Thornton celebrating with his teammates.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Cryer from the corner. And it rattles home.
Wow. Get a KO, baby.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Here's Luke Altmaier. First down. And he's taken down. And it's Terrell Bernard. And he has 15 and a half career sacks now.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Looking that way is Prescott throwing that way, and that's going to be caught for the touchdown by Amari Cooper.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Smokey will join us in just a second once he gets an audio issue figured out over on his end. As you can see, Sikkim 365 Radio still remote because the ice is not completely melted yet, but we'll be back in studio on Monday. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, David Smoak. Loaded up show today. Ben Baby is going to talk Cincinnati Bengals with us. We'll talk Baylor recruiting in the aftermath of signing day with Grayson Grundhafer. Plus, we'll talk NFL scouting not scouting combine, but the Senior Bowl with Josh Carney, plus Scott Drew, Xavier Newman Johnson, and more here on the show today. Big college football scuttlebutt, Craig, though, early on, though, is that Brian Harson's in some trouble at Auburn. It's getting weird there. We'll also have Matt Tate talking Baylor and Kansas. Smokey, can you hear us yet? Nope. All right. But Craig, Brian Harsin in some heat in Auburn, and reportedly, according to Pete Thamel of ESPN, school officials are trying to find a way or find if he needs to stay there for any longer. We can't hear Craig.
How's this? Can you guys hear me now?
Got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, go ahead.
You mean, Auburn trying to figure out whether or not they want to fire Brian Harsin. We talked about this yesterday and a couple days ago as well. It's a weird situation, and I mean, all signs are pointing to this being the end of the road for that very short relationship. I mean, there's nothing that appears to be going that great in terms of Harsin and Auburn right now, and the writing just, kind of appears to be on the wall at this point. It's a weird deal. I'm interested to hear even more as this goes on. But, it certainly seems like that's not going to last too much longer.
No, it seems like they're trying to find a reason. Now, there's lots of rumors and insinuations right now of what's going on and social media things. But, man, I mean, it went so bad in the first year. They've lost 20-plus players. They've lost both their coordinators. And it just doesn't seem like it's a fit for Brian Harsin. And that place, they don't mess around when it comes to firing coaches. But you got to wonder, Craig, they're already paying $21 million to Gus Malzahn not to coach there, and they'd probably have to pay close to that to Brian Harsin not to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's what's going to happen if you fire a coach, though. I mean, yeah, it's a crazy deal. It's a crazy amount, but that's the reality of not doing a great job in terms of hiring your next coach to follow up the guy who you're already paying big money to. I mean, Malzahn, you knew you were going to have to cut some checks there, but there's no way you saw that Brian Harsin was going to be, on the receiving end of some of those as well this quickly. So yeah, it's a shock. It's surprising. It sucks for Auburn. It sucks for Brian Harsin. I don't know really what to make of it because, again, we don't know too much about it other than, it just doesn't seem to be a fit for XYZ reasons, and I'm sure ABC reasons as well. And, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, again, it seems like this is inevitable that they'll be looking for a new football coach here pretty soon. And, look, the reality of that is you have to pay big money when you make the wrong choice and a guy needs to exit earlier than you expected. So that's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to figure out with Smokey here, but and we'll have Ben Baby in a second talking about the Bengals and what they've done to get to the Super Bowl. But again, Craig, it goes back to what I kind of talk about and lampoon on quite a bit is who are these colleges negotiating against to keep Brian Harsin away? From and giving him buyouts and Gus Malzahn and all that. If a guy wants to leave, let him leave. Bottom line. I mean, I understand, you're going to pay $40 million potentially to two coaches not to coach there and then have to get a marketable coach to compete in the SEC West. What are you going to have to do? I mean, it's a lot of money they're spending out to, which means to me that for a lot of these places, just money isn't real. It's not a real thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think you ever, and we can hear Smokey. I don't know about you, but I can hear him breathing over and over again. But yeah, I mean, Paul, I don't think they set out to spend $40 million. They intended to spend that on the coach that was going to be there for the next several years. They didn't intend for themselves to have to go and spend buyout money on Malzahn. And even when they knew they had to spend buyout money on Malzahn, they certainly didn't, sign Brian Harsin thinking, man, we can't wait to have him coach for 1 year and then pay him a bunch of meaningless money for not doing anything. I mean, that speaks to these ridiculous contracts and these ridiculous buyouts, but they didn't put those together hoping to pay buyout money. They put those together hoping to pay that money while that guy won games for them. So the fact that they're paying those contracts now, potentially two of them, for two guys who they didn't want to be there anymore, just says that, yeah, contracts are ridiculous, but it says that they made bad choices or that those guys didn't live up to their expectations. And so that ultimately is on Auburn and their decision-making and on those coaches to an extent as well. But, yeah, you got to find a guy that's going to actually be there and get it done for you, because to have two guys with potentially now big buyouts that you'll be paying and a third coach, as you mentioned, who will actually be your active coach, and all these staff members as well, good thing that they make big money in the SEC, because there's certainly not a lot of programs that could swing bills like that. All
right, let's take a break here before we get Ben Baby. I can get Smokey sorted out here. I think it's a pretty simple fix for that. And then we'll come back with Ben Baby talking Cincinnati Bengals, because we don't have him for that long. So let's break right here. We'll come back. Smokey will be with us, not just his pretty face, but his, dulcet tones and everything else as well. That's going to come up next. This is Sick of 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
This month, it's all about the championship drive as our hometown team celebrated the Big 12 championship and a Sugar Bowl win. So can you in your new vehicle from Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Waco. During the President's Day sales event, shop for power, performance, and reliability from our selection of the new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star. Are you planning your next adventure? Choose from a range of Jeep models, including the 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Take home the trophy from Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Welcome back in, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Smokey, are you muted again? But you can hear now. You can't talk. What a day! What a day! Your microphone's muted. Just hit that microphone button. But we are joined by Ben Baby, ESPN.com here in a second. Smokey, I can see that your microphone's muted. Just hit the little white button. Oh, Ben, the joys of doing remotes. But Ben Baby, ESPN.com, joins us now. He covers the Cincinnati Bengals. Ben, I know you missed Texas terribly, but you've been doing a great job of covering the Bengals. What's this year been like covering a meteoric rise from terrible to Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible to watch. The Bengals, a couple years ago when I first got here from Texas, were the worst team in the NFL. And then over the last couple seasons, they've really done a good job of overhauling things, really, gutted out the roster and started rebuilding from the ground up, starting with that first overall pick in Joe Burrow. And we've seen him really transform this team and this offense in particular. And in Zach Taylor's third season, they're playing for the biggest game, the biggest trophy that we have to offer in American sports. It's truly phenomenal to watch. And, even when you go back at the beginning of December, it's not something I thought was achievable for this team, but then they went on a big run at the end of the season, beat Kansas City not once, but then twice. So right now, it's just wild. You see the buzz in the city, and I think that people are very excited in town about what's about to happen.
Ben, what's it been like to just watch the rise of Joe Burrow? I mean, you mentioned him there and how special he is, but I mean, this story's, even when you talk about how special it is, it's still ridiculous to kind of try and wrap your heads around. I mean, what sense have you got? You've been around a lot of great players and special types, but what do you get when you're around Joe Burrow?
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually there, covered his first start at LSU. I was with the Dallas Morning News at the time, and he was, I was there when they played Miami inside AT&T Stadium, was there for his final loss in college when they lost to A&M at Kyle Field in 2018. And from then on out, it's just been wild to see him go from a potential mid-round pick to the number 1 overall pick. And now here in Cincinnati, a guy who has really given the team a lot of confidence. He's a guy that they fully believe can be a franchise quarterback. That's why they picked him with the first overall pick. And he's definitely proven to be that for them. You definitely see the impact he has, not just on the field, but in the locker room as well. A guy who's been a very big leader, especially by example, and has demanded a level of excellence from everyone around him. And I think all those things are big reasons why Cincinnati is a game away from hosting the Lombardi.
Ben Baby again with us, ESPN.com, covers the Bengals. Ben, thanks for your time. David Smoak with you. What has this meant to the city of Cincinnati?
Yeah, this has been pretty big. This is a team and a city that hasn't been able to experience a playoff win since January 1991, making only its third Super Bowl appearance. And, for 3 decades, there was just a lack of success at the levels that matter. They had won division titles, they had made the playoffs, but ultimately they had nothing to show for any of that. And this year you could definitely feel whenever they were able to hang on and beat the Raiders in the wild card game that, maybe a big burden had been lifted off their shoulders. But what was fascinating is even after that win, the Bengals players said, we want more than just one playoff win. And over time, you've seen them kind of change the narrative internally about, we're lucky to be here, lucky to make this run. And, we're a good team. We're the AFC North champions. And, we're out here to mean business. And, you've seen, I know y'all are down in Waco, and Clay Johnston, had a big play for them in the game against, Tennessee. He's been a guy who has been a reserve linebacker throughout the season. And, he came up, and I believe his only snap of a defensive snap of consequence so far this season, he stopped Derrick Henry on a 2-point conversion, and that ended up being a big play. So, this whole team is really bought into not having any egos, everybody being able to step up when they need to. Trent Taylor, another guy, a practice squad wide receiver, caught a 2-point pass in the game against Kansas City. So, I think that there's a lot of excitement about this group, and this is a very likable team, not just in the city, but you're starting to see that nationally as well.
Ben, you mentioned Joe Burrow, and he's the story, but really they've kind of nailed the draft a little bit over the last couple of years. With T. Higgins a couple years ago, I mean, Jamar Chase was maybe one of the best draft picks of all time, not a quarterback, to make this offense very viable and piece it together with free agents. What was the shift in Mike Brown? Was it just hitting on Joe Burrow or anything? Because he is – and I've tried to say this in the nicest way possible, but not the most engaged guy when it comes to, being an aggressive owner or things like that, comparatively to a guy like Jerry Jones or Arthur Blank or someone. He's much more in the background.
Yeah, I think we started to see that shift actually before Joe Burrow was drafted. You saw that in the free agency in 2020 whenever they got DJ Reader, who was previously with the Texans, signed Trey Waynes, a cornerback from Minnesota. That one hasn't really worked out, but it still signaled a shift. And we've seen other shifts as well, not just, in the way that they operate as a franchise and in their spending habits, but also some other things that matter in fan engagement. They've done a really good job. Mike's granddaughter, Elizabeth Blackburn, has really made it a point to re-engage a fan base that was checked out the last couple of years. They finally debuted a Ring of Honor, something that fans had clamored for a very long time, and they got updated jerseys this year as well. And I think all of those things matter, and it matters with the perception of this franchise. And I think that they finally understand that. And I think that all of that has been key. And, during the draft process that you talked about, Joe Burrow actually mentioned it yesterday, saying that he just wanted to be involved in the process. He didn't really want them he didn't want to say, I want Jamar Chase, and then they just go get Jamar Chase, but he wanted to stay in the loop. And that's something that will be something to watch moving forward. We saw that conversation with Aaron Rodgers earlier this postseason, or this offseason, excuse me. And so I believe that all of those things we're seeing maybe a new day, so to speak, here in Cincinnati and kind of how they're operating.
Ben, your thoughts on the matchup with the Rams? I mean, obviously could have been Packers instead, but the Rams are the draw. And, many people thought maybe Chiefs-Packers, but here we are with Bengals-Rams. What are your kind of early thoughts on that matchup and how the Bengals view how they stack up with L.A.?
Yeah, the big matchup's going to be in the trenches. It's going to be, can the Bengals protect Joe Burrow? Can they give him enough time in the pocket? Can the Bengals that pass protection against Aaron Donald and Von Miller hold up and give them, the ability to be aggressive and take some shots downfield? We saw that in the game against Kansas City after Burrow was sacked 9 times against Tennessee. The Bengals went with a conservative approach in hopes that their defense and their special teams would do enough to produce a victory. So we'll see if that can happen this time around. The Rams have been able to manufacture big wins and do some good things with their offense. It includes Matthew Stafford, a Highland Park guy, and they got Odell Beckham Jr. in the middle of the season as well, along with Cooper Kupp, who's the best receiver in the NFL right now. So, it's going to be a really intriguing matchup. But if the Bengals can get some semblance of an offense, I really think that Cincinnati has a very good chance to win. And, frankly, I'm going to end up picking them, in a game that I really didn't think I would.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's fun to see. It kind of reminds me of teams that have gotten hot at the end. I don't know about the Giants when they beat the Patriots because that was a team led by their defense. Ben, one thing that's underrated is the fact Joe Burrow's getting a lot of attention, obviously Jamar Chase, but the Bengals hadn't been back to the Super Bowl since you started covering them either.
Yeah, no, but everyone says that, but they also forget that they were the worst team in the NFL my first season. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm getting good luck.
All right, well, Ben, one of the things I got to know, because you are a proud Texan, especially when it comes to culinary pursuits. I know that they've got their what they call chili up there, but when you get off the plane, when you come back to Texas, you go right to a barbecue place. What do you do? I got to know, because I know it hits you at your soul that you can't get real brisket when you're in Ohio.
Yeah, no, not many places in the country have real brisket. I found that out when I went to Kansas City last weekend. First thing I do, because usually my parents are the ones picking me up when I go and see them, and there's a good Whataburger in Grapevine, in my hometown, so I'll go over there. Usually get me whatever time of the day it is. It's morning or evening. I make my meal choice accordingly, and then we'll go to the house and spend some time together, and then hopefully get some brisket and catch up. It's funny, the last time I was getting some brisket, it was in South Lake, and happened to run into Riley Dodge and the South Lake Herald head coach. I said, everyone keeps telling me you got a quarterback that's pretty good. He goes, yeah, he is. He's pretty good, and we'll see if he's going to be good for Texas now and Quinn Ewers after he transfers from Ohio State. So you never know who you're going to run into. I think we all like a lot of the same things food-wise in the state, but it's always a pleasure to get back, and hopefully I'll be able to get back here pretty soon.
Ben, last question. The protocol of the itinerary in the past, the team that was there would either arrive Sunday evening or sometime on Monday. Media and Radio Row has been pushed back a little bit towards middle of the week. What is the plan? What is the itinerary this year?
Yeah, right now the Bengals are scheduled to arrive at LAX on Tuesday. They'll do some virtual media availability at the beginning of the week and really only have one full in-person media availability at the end of the week. So, it's the way for the NFL. They've been very cautious, especially since the rise of Omicron and how contagious and disruptive it has been. I think everyone's trying to make sure that they're able to make everything happen on schedule and on time. So that is what we're looking at right now ahead of the Super Bowl week.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. Great to see you're a part of this. Thanks for your time. We appreciate you jumping on. I know it's busy as hell.
Yep. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you. Ben Baby, ESPN.com, covers the Bengals, and on their way next week, as he mentioned, arriving on Tuesday. Things have been pushed back a little bit deeper into the week and has been that way since last year. There was a time when they would fly in on Sunday, both teams, and then Sunday, Monday, and now even later. In the media, Radio Row really this year was not till Wednesday, although they'll be set up and ready to go. I think most of the access on Radio Row really doesn't start till Wednesday. I believe that's when we got our credentials. That's what it said to us as well.
Yeah, so, I wonder if that's not now changed for forever, because that was a get in on Sunday type of a deal and be there 5 days of shows. And, then last year was obviously funky as all get out. And then this year they're not starting until Wednesday. That's wild. That's one of those, when 9/11 happened and it changed a bunch of stuff for ever, we'll never not have metal detectors at every big event ever again. I wonder if, the whole COVID wave maybe changed some events like Radio Row, where for at least a little while, it's not the all week full blown event that it was. Perhaps it's shortened a little bit. I don't know. That'll be curious to see that. But for a big LA Super Bowl, it's kind of disappointing if it doesn't really get in full swing, at least if you're a media person headed out there until the midweek.
Last year, Paul, we could have gotten there any day, and there was nobody there because obviously it was like a mausoleum. We were there to get our foot in the door since we had a new company. But, and of course, I think there'll be probably 50, 60 stations there in L.A. At the convention center, wherever it is this year.
I do know that I've never felt more welcomed by some of the people that had been there for a couple days just to see different people, because it was just them in this a gigantic room that would normally have 500 tables in it had 10. And so you're just sitting there looking at the wall. We walked in and saw, our buddy John, who's the main producer at the Sports Animal in Tampa, was just so happy to see us. Oh my God,
human beings. One note about the Super Bowl: Mattress Mac is at it again. Not sure if you guys saw this or not. He has placed a bet for $4.5 million. Bets, overall bets for $4.5 million. The Bengals will win the Super Bowl. Possibly could win, like on one of them, he could win as much as $7.7 million on his $4.5 million.
And Ben just said that he's picking the Bengals to win the Super Bowl.
Yep, that's what he said.
It was weird because he said that like right after talking about Aaron Donald and how the Bengals offensive line, and I'm sitting there going like, okay, so outside of Joe Burrow and a couple of these receivers, why exactly are we feeling Cincinnati so big in this one? You know what I'm like? I feel like he could get sacked 15 times in this game, but then again, he's been sacked 9 and still won, so maybe that's the thinking there. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, but Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd coming at you. And I'm just naming 3 guys who can do that, and they're the 3 best that they have. I mean, that's still, to me, that's the matchup that I want to pick the Bengals. I really do, because I love the story, but, man, I don't know, you know?
Yeah, that's hard to kind of figure out where that benefits them in any way and leads you to believe they win. But, there's other areas of the game, obviously, as well. And Joe Burrow and those receivers getting loose. But then again, those receivers, they're going to be matched up with Jalen Ramsey. And I don't know. It's going to be a fun matchup, Bengals offense and Rams defense. That's for sure.
We're going to jump into Baylor, Kansas men's basketball tomorrow in Lawrence. The men, we're going to fly out of Waco as normal. Couldn't do that. They were going to drive to Dallas and fly out of Dallas. They couldn't do that. And Scott Drew today at a 12:15 media session mentioning that they had to drive to Austin, to fly into Lawrence or wherever you would fly into, I guess Kansas City, to get to Lawrence for that game tomorrow. Ochai Agbaji, according to Bill Self, sounds like he's been cleared to play Big 12 protocols, which is a great thing for KU, although it depends on whether or not he's lost much because of the fact he's been out since Saturday or Sunday. Meanwhile, Remy Martin, it sounds doubtful. Bill Self saying that just not much has changed. He wants him back 100%. Right now, he thinks he's about 60 to 65%.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see Remy Martin for another couple of weeks at least. If not, maybe just gearing him up for the stretch run. Like they might see him at February 26th. Like that might be the game, maybe the game before that Remy Martin comes back to when they come here to Waco. But I don't envision that happening. Bill Self said Agbaji would play if he feels up to it, and I can't imagine that he wouldn't feel up to it. So,
well, the guy that hurt the guy that hurt Baylor last year was the guard who's gone. He was a defensive player of the year before, Davion Mitchell.
Yeah.
And then also the McCormack was big against Baylor in that game, the post-COVID game. I mean, McCormack beat them up in the first half in that win. That was the first loss Baylor had last year. Then, of course, they lost in the Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship or Big 12 tournament.
Well, and the key to me isn't so much now that we know that Ochai Agbaji is playing, because as long as he's semi-okay, he's still going to score points for Kansas. The big question is, Cryer and Flagler for Baylor.
Well, and Scott Drew did mention he was asked that question, and he didn't answer it the first time he answered a question, I think, from Kendall Cowd of Sikkim365.com, and then he was followed up, I believe, Chris Kelly might have asked him that question, Eric Kelly, and he said, he said, I believe this is what he said. The doctors have kind of cleared them. Now it depends on really whether it's a pain tolerance, and so that could change when you wake up in the morning. They will probably not get a workout in today because they'll be traveling all day. Not sure if they're going to get anything done tomorrow. And so it's basically Flagler and Cryer pain tolerance. And before you go, my God, you got to play. It's Kansas. You want to make sure they're here for the long haul, not if they get setbacks, whether it's Cryer and Flagler. But that's going on. Flagler's the knee. Cryer, of course, has been the foot. One other note in college basketball, Joe Lunardi, the latest bracketology, despite Baylor stumping their toe, again with the loss to Alabama, Auburn, Purdue, Gonzaga, Baylor right now are the number 1 seeds. Duke, Arizona, who beat UCLA last night, UCLA and Kentucky are on the number 2 line. Kansas and Tech are 3 seeds. TCU 8, Oklahoma 9, Texas a 6 seed, and Iowa State is a 7 seed. So right now, the only teams not included, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and the first 4 out is West Virginia. So the Big 12 right now with 7 teams listed among the seeds from Joe Lunardi. Houston, by the way, is a 3 seed. Grant McCasland, former Baylor assistant, UNT. North Texas, a 12 seed. Brigham Young, incoming team for the Big 12, eventually is at a number 11 seed as well. The women tonight against Texas after a really bad, they blew a tire Wednesday night. And they, I got to say this about them. The attendance on Wednesday night was awful, but Oklahoma, it was bad all the way around. The weather, that was the first night, really all hell broke loose. They had parent night. It got set back. But they lost the game. Tonight they're playing Texas 2 out of 3 weekdays. It's games in Waco, Farrell Center. They're giving away like TVs and iPods and all sorts of stuff. I hope they get at least a decent showing. I know people are still a little bit tentative. Here we are. We're doing the show remote, although when I walked outside a minute ago to go put some stuff in the dumpster, the trash, I mean, things were melting left and right, but that doesn't mean there's still not some slick spots. So that's a huge game. Baylor could see themselves, if they don't win tonight at home, play Texas Sunday on the road, they could be in a free fall after this weekend if they don't, and that was just a bad loss against Oklahoma. So Nikki Collins was gay. We're giving away meals for the 300 students. So I don't know what's going to happen tonight at the Farrell Center.
Yeah. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, they need to win. They need to win, and if they don't get one in this game, they have to get a win in the second one. I mean, that Oklahoma loss, again, it was awful. Like you said, that there really was no excuse for that one. I think they'd feel a lot better had they won that game. They'd won 6 in a row, and you go in and, hey, you lose to Texas. Hey, well, that's expected to happen. Rankings-wise, maybe you could argue that, or just, whatever. You could mulligan that one. But now that you've lost to Oklahoma, you can't mulligan anything. You have to win now, and so that loss, I think, really it took away one of their, okay, that's a bump in the roads, and now it's more of a, well, you can't really afford to lose 2 in a row to Texas. So we'll see what happens. But that was an ugly showing the other night, given the circumstances Oklahoma was dealing with. So hopefully that regrouped them and refocused them a little bit and's got them geared up, ready to play.
Well, they now lost both games to Oklahoma, who's in front of them. Iowa State, next time they play, even though they hammered them a week ago, that's at Iowa State. And they have Texas back-to-back in 3 days. So they're finding themselves. It looked like they might have gotten their act together. I was really, almost, what the hell's going on with their defense? Remember, they brought that up against Texas Tech when they gave up a bunch, but they just did not do anything. Abram Smith, guys, we're going to have an analyst on the show a little bit later on. Josh Carney, who was at the Shrine Bowl, and we'll get into that. Xavier Newman Johnson joins us at 4. Jim Nagy. Abram Smith named the top running back of the national team in a vote from linebackers at practice. Player of the Week award ceremony today at the 2022 Reese's Senior Bowl. And Abram Smith, there was a video of him pass blocking, and it looked like he'd been a pro for 8 or 9 years, the way he took care of those who were trying to get to the quarterback.
He's absolutely built for it, and I wonder how much being just a football player, being a linebacker and a running back, helps his mental game, and it comes to football knowledge. But yeah, he is. There's nothing that I saw this year that doesn't make me think that he won't be a very, very, very good and effective NFL player at running back, because he runs exactly how they want him to run, one cut and up, powerful runner, got good speed, can pass protect, which is almost as important as how well you run. So yeah, there's plenty of teams out there with needs for running backs that aren't going to spend a first-round pick on him. And Abram's not going to be a first-round pick, but I would think that somewhere on day 2, somebody's going to get themselves a pretty darn good running back.
Yeah, I mean, good honor for Abram. And, the picture they used was him stiff-arming, I think he was J.T. Woods, which was kind of funny. But, I mean, I know that you probably have a note on Petrie as well as far as those, honors go. And that's great for Abram Smith. And we'll see what happens in the Senior Bowl and if those guys get some good run.
Yeah, and, again, Petrie had himself a week. I didn't see anything. I just happened to get that email or a text, actually, from Jim.
Petrie was named the top DS. I don't know what that means. I don't know if he meant DB instead of DS, but the top DS on the national team in a vote from the tight end and wide receivers group at the Reese's 2020 or the award ceremony, whatever. So, yeah, acknowledged as well.
All right, well, that's that. Abram Smith did well. Tyquan Thornton last night in the Shrine Bowl played well. Xavier Newman-Johnson, he'll join us at 4. He had a hell of a week, and you should hear him talk about Eric Mateos and all of how he turned around everything and what it was, not just as Mateos as a coach, but Mateos after the loss or the win. They beat Houston Baptist, and he had someone die in the family. Someone passed away in his family, and Mateos was there for him on a long phone conversation that really, really was amazing how he just gushed about Eric Mateos. I sent Eric a text on that, and he was like, "Man, oh, thanks a lot. We appreciate that." He was thrilled with that.
I'll say it again for the people who maybe missed it the other day. The 2020 to 2021, actually, let's go 2019, 2020 to 2021 is 3 different players. And the upswing that he's made to now, and look, the coaches before, the Matt Rule coaching staff always believed that Xavier Newman-Johnson was going to be a really, really good player, and they saw it. But his. That third, 2019 year, he was good. I mean, he was one of the better offensive linemen, but he wasn't great. And then, of course, last year, the whole offensive line was as bad as they can be, and he was a huge part of that. But he was so unbelievably good this year and dominant at times, physically mauling people in front of him, pass protection, run blocking, whatever they wanted. He was really, really, really good. And he's a guy who went from not being drafted at all and probably having to bounce around leagues in 2020 because he's a big guy who knows how to play football, to being an NFL player just like that.
Yeah, he talks about that, and he really discusses that and how he was able to kind of grow up along the way. Aaron Wilson, hello, 365 family. Aaron had COVID. He's been out a little bit. I know we got to take a break. Also, Grayson Grunhafer joins us in the next segment. From Waco, boy, how did JT Woods perform? I saw some nice notes about him as far as his coverage and also forcing the run. B.R. James just joined us on the chat room as well, and so we appreciate a lot of that. Here's a story. Do we have a little segment, then Grayson, Paul, or are we going to go straight to Grayson?
We're going to go straight to Grayson. That's right.
I just got this Scotty B, who's like our own beat writer. Like, he is like a guy that is like an assignments editor. Kendall Rogers, college baseball, the NCAA Division I Committee for Legislative Relief has approved 2 blanket waivers. Roster size for the spring of 23 will be 35, maybe up to 40 if a team has seniors who missed the 2020 season. And also roster counters are now at 27, but you can get up to 32 with some parameters as above. So that's college baseball.
How about you? That's awesome news. It would also be even better if you started giving full scholarships to athletes in all the different sports. Like baseball, softball, all of it. Full scholarships as opposed to this 11.3 nonsense or whatever it is.
I think that's coming. I think that's probably one of the next things to come. I think certain schools like the SEC's try to say across the board everything needs to be, with the kind of money they're making, needs to be full scholarships. We'll see if that happens or not. All right, when we come back, Grayson Grunhafer, it was another busy week for Baylor. They got the commitment, the wide receiver from down south, and he's next. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Payments for qualified buyers only at 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details. It's New Year, New Ride time at Richard Carr. New Year pre-owned deals like a 2017 Dodge Challenger for $272 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $422 a month, or a 2014 Cadillac CTS sedan for $227 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak, Jack McKenzie running the mothership, and Grayson Grundhafer joins us, Sikkim 365 recruiting analyst, and it was a busy week this week for Baylor. They picked up yet another name for the class of 2023. Grayson, first of all, how weird was it Wednesday for you not to have anybody at all that signed with Baylor?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little weird, right, Smokey, because I think when you look at the class, they were pretty much filled up. And then the other kind of storyline was that they did get Alfonso Allen to commit in the month of January, but his recruitment was so interesting because he signed and enrolled in the middle of January. So, like you said, no signees on Wednesday, the last signing day, and it kind of goes back to what we've talked about before. As far as Baylor goes, this last signing day is usually pretty meaningless because most of their class is usually filled out. They were only waiting on Kamari Terrell to make his decision, and of course, he decided with Oregon. But outside of that, they weren't really recruiting anyone when the second signing period came around.
Yeah, Grayson, I thought it was weird when I checked, a couple feeds on different recruiting websites at about 10:30 in the morning, and there are about 4 posts at 10:30, which usually by 10:30 you've got 90% of the day done. You're just waiting for a few hat ceremonies, and there was nothing. But for Baylor, and now as they move on to 2023, how do you see this class shaping up with positions of interest, things that they have to get that they're going after right now?
Yeah, so they're off to a really nice start. They already have 9 commits. Of course, they got Gifford to commit. I'm sure we'll talk about him in a little bit. And, of course, Christian Brathwaite as well after the junior day, which he was there in attendance for. So up to 9 commits. They're currently ranked number 14th in the country rankings-wise, and that's without 4 of their prospects even having a ranking right now. So they're doing a really nice job. They already have their quarterback solidified, which was a position they really had to address in this class. And then you kind of look around at the other positions they need. So I think cornerback is a position they definitely are going to have to look at. They have 1 committed with Jakeebian Rogers, but they still have some more work to do there. I could see them taking anywhere from 3, maybe 4 cornerbacks in this class, and that's to go along with potentially taking a transfer as well. So that's definitely a position to keep an eye on. I would also say defensive line. They don't currently have a defensive line prospect committed, but I think they're definitely going to address that, probably take 3 defensive linemen, and they also probably have 3 spots open at linebacker as well, even with the addition of Christian Brathwaite, because they still got to address the jack position, which is a position they need to build some more depth on.
So you mentioned their names a couple of times now, Grayson, but in the last handful of days, Christian Brathwaite, the linebacker, and also here most recently, wide receiver Micah Gifford from Pflugerville. Weiss, what can you tell us about those 2 and what their commitments mean?
Yeah, so Christian Brathwaite is a cool one just because it continues that Cy Ranch to Baylor connection that's going on there. Baylor obviously has Drake Dabney, Romario Noel on the roster. Bryce Simpson signed in the 2022 class, and now here you go, Christian Brathwaite is committed as well. And they're still going after Ashton Porter, who's a big 4-star defensive end out of Cy Ranch. So they've really done a nice job there. And Brathwaite is he's such an interesting prospect because, he's 6'2", 225 pounds. And back when I saw him probably a year ago, right before he got the Baylor offer, so I guess a little more than a year ago, he looked like a guy that was poised to be, potentially one of the best linebackers in the entire country. He just looked so athletic, so explosive. And he got some offers, Tennessee, Colorado, Texas Tech, Cal. But prior to the season, he got injured in the spring, and he wasn't even able to get cleared for contact till August. And so it really took a toll on his film this season. And so I think you're going to see him really become a riser during his senior year. He's already a 4-star, but I think he can go higher than that. And I think his film will catch up to his ranking, and I think he's going to get better and better. So love this pickup for this staff, and he's been a priority since day one. So that's a very big pickup. Now, the other one is really interesting. So Micah Gifford, he committed, and he committed without even visiting Baylor, at least during his recruitment visit. Or recruitment time. He's been to Baylor, though, because his brother Elijah is actually on the Baylor track team. But Micah is a very good and lanky and skilled and fast prospect. He's about 6'3", 185 pounds, had 893 yards and 13 touchdowns this season, so showed high level of production, ran a 14.67 second 110-meter hurdle time as a sophomore, which is a tremendous time. So clearly a lot of speed. He's a strider. You're going to see him down the sideline a lot, kind of in that type 1 Thornton role, I think, in this Baylor offense. And I think the biggest thing about him is he's the first wide receiver commit since Baylor hired new wide receiver coach Dallas Baker, the TD maker.
Yeah, that didn't take long. It surely did not take very long. I want to bring up Brayson McHenry. He's a walk-on, preferred walk-on. We know C.J. Rogers has already been in the building, a preferred walk-on from Argyle. McHenry is out of Texas High. And I had a couple of comments from his coach, Jerry Stanford, and he basically thought that you're going to see more quarterbacks do this now, kind of pick and choose based on, I guess, the way recruiting is. They have a full quarterback room. Have you heard anything much about McHenry?
Yeah, I actually talked to Brayson this week and posted notes about him today, actually. And a really good kid. Sean Bell really likes him, likes his game, thinks he's a really good fit for their offense. And, I really like Brayson. I watch his film and I see a guy that's a very solid addition and probably a guy who honestly could have played group of flag football. So I think he's a guy that you take and you see how he grows and builds. And I think the most important part about the walk-on spots at Baylor is that, you want to make sure that guy's a great cultural fit and he's the guy that will push the other guys to get better. And I think that's exactly what Brayson McHenry will do. I'll also say, statistically, he has some really good numbers. I mean, he ran for nearly 2,000 yards this year and 27 touchdowns. So very athletic, led his team to a 12-1 season, 4th round of the playoffs. So clearly a winner and a guy that has all the attributes you're looking for. And I also want to mention they extended an offer to Dripping Springs running back Preston Alford, who's another preferred walk-on offer. And he's a Baylor legacy, grew up loving Baylor, totaled over 8,000 yards of total offense and like 81 touchdowns in high school. I mean, just an insane amount of production. And just a guy who also fits in with what they're trying to do with that walk-on program. So if they were able to land Preston along with Brayson McHenry, I think they would honestly feel great about their walk-on.
Grayson All-Star games going on. We're going to see the Senior Bowl here coming up. Had the East-West game last night. Didn't see much from the likes of a Treston Ebner, but saw where Jalen Petre's been voted the best defensive secondary member at the Senior Bowl. Abram Smith, the best running back. Just your thoughts on, and I've written a bit about these guys, but just your thoughts on what you've seen in this early build-up to the NFL draft for some of these Baylor prospects.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that you're seeing Jalen Petre and Abram Smith being total risers throughout this NFL draft process. I would also say that it seems like Xavier Newman-Johnson might actually give himself a shot at being drafted, if not, for sure be a priority pickup, at the end of the draft. And then I think Tyquan Thornton has put himself in a position where he could move up to being a day 2 pick, so maybe the 2nd or 3rd round, which would be tremendous. I mean, he performed really, really well at the Shrine Bowl. But just speaking on Petre and Abram, I think Abram will probably get drafted somewhere in like the 5th, 6th round. But I think he's going to go to a place that fits, where he's going to fit the wide zone scheme really well. And I think he's going to be extremely productive. So whoever gets him, if they get him that late in the draft, I think he's going to be a slam dunk pickup, especially for running backs who, you need to kind of cycle in running backs as guys get older. So really like Abram. And then, of course, Jalen Petre, the way that I'm looking at this and the way that I'm hearing things on him, don't be surprised if he somehow gets taken by a team that just absolutely loves him in that 2nd, maybe 3rd round. I just think, there's a chance he creeps up into that 2nd round just because someone falls in love with his game and with his film, which, I mean, as Baylor fans and people who watch Baylor a lot, I think everyone can pretty much agree he just absolutely flashed every time he was on the field this year, and I think an NFL team could find that really enticing.
Yeah, it's been a good week because I mentioned after last year there wasn't much, and there's been years when they've had 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 guys drafted as far as way back in the days even of Grant Taft, but Petre, defensive secondary player, Abram the running back, and there's video of these guys fundamentally sound as heck. And then Newman, who we have on at 5 o'clock today, had a great week. And Paul and Craig, we've had this discussion many times, Grayson, where he was just lost at times because of moving around or, where he was going to play, or they just weren't very good. And it's a great story about what Mateos did with him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, what Mateos did with him and the fact that Xavier Newman he never gave up. You know what I mean? It felt like there was a time in there where he absolutely could have just been like, I'm done. I'm walking away from football. He had injuries, just wasn't performing on the field, and he put it all together this year. So I'm really happy about that because that's just such a cool story with, us following him as closely as we did over his career. I don't think many people understand kind of where he was at, kind of in the middle of his career at Baylor, and then to turn that around, it's been fantastic to watch. So I'm extremely happy about the week that he just had.
Thank you, Grayson. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Grayson Grunhay for Sikkim365.com recruiting analyst with us. The Bearcast every Tuesday, and then, of course, he joins us on Fridays at 3:45 as well. I want to throw this out there to close out the hour. Paul just sent me a text. It's a tweet from Ferguson Jenkins, one of the great pitchers in baseball history. Joe West retired a record 5,460 games as an umpire, and
all of them bad.
And I think almost every one of them was disputed. I mean, some players just couldn't stand him, and he's kind of like the last of a dying breed. There's a couple of more. Is Hernandez still umpiring, Paul?
Yes.
Okay, a couple of more who still think they are the reason people come to the stadium. Ferguson Jenkins tweet, whenever he called games I pitched, I used to call him Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Do you know how long ago it's been since Ferguson Jenkins pitched? That's how long Joe West has been umpiring.
Yeah, that's not good that in 2021, Joe West is still umpiring games and Fergie Jenkins can go back and say it. Like that would be the equivalent of if there was an umpire calling games when Fergie Jenkins was pitching and, someone like, who would have been alive? They're all dead because of cancer and stuff. But like Babe Ruth been like, yeah, that guy sucked when I was playing.
Yeah. Man, when you sent me that text, I was like, wait a minute. He had to have retired. I know he had a near Cy Young Award winning year in 1974 for the Rangers. He was 25-12. So he didn't pitch much longer than maybe late 70s, early 80s. So he's been out for 40 years.
Yeah.
And West has still been umpiring?
Yeah.
Nuts. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. One quick Baylor note. Keontae George, the young man who's already signed with Baylor, he is a scoring machine. IMG Academy, they lost to Lala Muir in a game last night. It is the NIBC. It's the National Interscholastic Basketball Conference. First player to ever put up 40 points in one of those games. 40 points, hit 2 threes at the end of the first overtime to force double overtime before they lost 93-91. He's coming down that pipeline for Baylor, Scott Drew, and men's basketball as well. When we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, we will have much to get to, including Scott Drew from earlier today. He will discuss the updates with Adam Flagler and also L.J. Cryer. Game tomorrow with Kansas, the travel issues they've had. And then Matt Tate, who covers Kansas, will join us again. Kind of a quick turnaround to have him about all of what's happening with KU. Hope you stick around all the way until 6 on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Sports bettors, it is that fantastic time of year. The NFL playoffs, the Super Bowl, college basketball, the NBA, all of that coming up right now, and with great action at BetUS.com, the 3-decade leader. And right now, for just $50, you can get in with our promo codes, SICK'EM125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'EM200, that's a 200% bonus on crypto. So go to BetUS.com today. $50 gets you 125% bonus on cash or 200% on crypto with our promo codes, SICK'EM125 and SICK'EM200. That's at BetUS.com.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
Abram Smith with a good run. Look at Abram Smith. They were pinned at their own 5 after the Mack Brown punt, and he weaves his way past midfield.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go. All right. Starting this 4 o'clock hour, one of the notes from earlier today, Tony Price, great show, guys, as always, gentlemen. Wish you weren't so good. I'm having withdrawal symptoms when I can't watch. By the way, you guys are do a great job in the commercials as well. And then, Tony, I haven't thought about listening, but the thing is, I can't watch. I can't listen either. Y'all keep hauling the mail, whether I'm in the bleachers or not. So, Tony Price, great to have you with us as always, and you have been for quite some time. All right, so Baylor tomorrow with Kansas in a game. Both teams coming off the kind of a struggle. Baylor losing to Alabama and Kansas getting slapped by Kentucky at home. Nice win for KU earlier this week when they played at Iowa State without Obaji, and Baylor struggled, but finally able to take care of West Virginia in their game at home on Tuesday. So Scott Drew and the men on their way to Kansas. It's been kind of a tough day, a lot of travel issues all over the place. And he met with the media earlier today prior to getting on a bus to drive to Austin to fly to Kansas.
What are your general impressions of Kansas, and do you prepare for them as if Agbaji and Martin are going to play?
Yes, we prepare if they're going to play. I learned early on in my coaching career, when you don't plan for someone and then they do play, it's a lot worse. So we always plan on people playing, and obviously those are two very good players as well. As far as Kansas, third best offense in the country. We're fifth best offense. They do a great job on the glass. McCormack, number one offensive rebounding big man or a player in the NCAA percentage wise. And we're a great rebounding team. So a lot of similar strengths playing up there. You got to keep them out of transition, which you got to do at every Big 12 school, especially on the road. And then obviously Coach Self is a Hall of Fame coach, so he's always got them prepared.
Next question from Kendall Cowett with Signal 365.
Scott, quick two-parter update on Adam and LJ, and then does scouting get a little weird when some of the guys that you've scouted against in the past, like Agbaji, Brown, and McCormack, do different things for the guys maybe they're used to in the past?
You know what? When players improve their games, it's something that you definitely update, and you let your players know too. The great thing is, because you guys work hard, your games get improved as well. So as a coach, I'll be honest, when guys get better and improve, you appreciate that, because you know they're putting in work. And coaches all love to see guys put in work. We've been blessed throughout the years to have so many of our players improve because of the work they put in. As far as I would think our number one toughest task has been the weather, though, Kendall. If you could keep your ice and snow up there, we would appreciate it, because we don't deal well with it in Texas. So we aren't flying out of Waco. We're not flying out of Dallas. We are going out of Austin. I think we got a short window. We can make it out of there, and hopefully we'll get up there if the bus driver can drive on a little ice.
Next question from Eric Kelly with KWKT TV.
Hey, Coach. Sorry, it's going to be the question you love so much. Just curious about Adam and LJ.
I'm sorry, Kendall. And yeah. So, we keep everything game time unless we know for sure people aren't playing. And right now with Adam and LJ, basically it's a pain tolerance situation. If they can handle the pain and they're able to perform at a level that can help the team, then we can put them out there. But doctor wise, they're not restricted. If they were, I'd say they're not available. So really it's just a matter of pain tolerance and how it affects them on the court. So game time decision for both. And obviously that's one of my biggest prayers every night is they wake up pain free.
Next question from Jack Allen with KXXV TV.
Yeah, Coach, I was just wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on, has this weather thrown off practice schedules, or have y'all just been able to kind of hunker down and go at business as usual ahead of such a big game?
No, we've had to change some things. But in college basketball, you have to be flexible. You have injuries. You have other things. Normally it's not ice in Texas, but last year actually prepared us for it. So it has been a little different prep wise, and hopefully we can get up there and practice tonight, because we haven't practiced yet today here.
Next question from Andrew Miner.
Yeah, Coach, I was just curious about the ESPN docu-series, Our Time. How much of that has been a blessing for you to be able to see such great stories of not only your team being told, but also the women's team? Well,
I think first and foremost, why Nikki and I wanted to do it was because it puts our players in a position for their stories and their lives to kind of be told. And we feel they're great role models and ambassadors for our university. And I know I think it's great, like the last episode with Adam and shadowing Dr. Irvin. That's a great role model and somebody that every student athlete can look up and say, hey, I know he wants to play pro ball, but he also takes his academics very serious, because to be a doctor, you have to be very intelligent. You have to study and you have to put in the work. And I just think seeing our guys being able to have their lives more shared is great for the younger kids out there, because I believe in our guys.
Final question for Coach from Kevin Longquist with SinghamSports.com.
Scott, two quick ones. One, just the growth of Dale Bonner that you've seen over the last couple of weeks. He's really emerged with more confidence in his game. And then secondly, just the challenge that David McCormack presents to you, because I know he has really developed quite a bit this year and improved. So just those two quick items, if you would, sir.
Well, Dale's somebody that early on in practice, there was an adjustment period, but after that, he really practiced well, shot it well. And then we started games and obviously didn't get as many minutes, and his shooting wasn't what it was in practice, as it is understandably so. When you only play a few minutes, it's hard to get in a rhythm. And now that he's gotten more minutes, gotten more comfortable, he shot 40% from three last year in college. So he is a good shooter and a capable shooter. As far as defensively, he's really improved since the first day he's gotten here. And what's impressed us on the offensive end more than anything has been his ability to take care of the basketball, like last game, 4 assists, 0 turnovers. So he's someone that has God's blessed with talent and ability. He's worked hard, he's gotten better, and he's had an opportunity to show what he can do. And I know the teammates really like him and trust him. So that is one blessing whenever you have injuries. It gives other people an opportunity to step forward and play minutes, gain experience, gain trust, and hopefully that makes you just a better team when they come back. As far as McCormack goes, remember now, he was a top 50 recruit. A lot of people thought he would be a one and done or 2 and out. So, everyone knew he was really talented. And he's had games where he's been dominant. Last year when they beat us up there, I think he had 14 in the first half. He's a tremendous player, and he's somebody that's very talented. I don't know how much his foot injury has affected him this year, but he's definitely one of the best bigs in the country.
All right, that's all we have for Coach. If everybody will be patient with me for a second, I'm going to go find a
This month, it's all about the championship drive as our hometown team celebrated the Big 12 championship and a Sugar Bowl win. So can you in your new vehicle from Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Waco. During the President's Day sales event, shop for power, performance, and reliability from our selection of the new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star. Are you planning your next adventure? Choose from a range of Jeep models, including the 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Take home the trophy from Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 on Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by idealmri.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. idealmri.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, Lawrence, Kansas. Kansas and Baylor, Big 12, two teams at the top. Of course, Texas Tech is very much in the conversation, among others as well, including Texas Tech. We're now joined by Matt Tate, Lawrence Journal World. We've had Matt on before to discuss Kansas. And Matt, so many stories, Baylor with Flagler and Cryer and trying to find out what they can do. They'll make the trip, but it kind of comes down to whether they can play. And then Obaji coming off COVID. And then obviously there's a lot going on, Remy Martin. So give us an idea, first of all. It seems like Obaji's clear to go. You feel like he'll be 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I do. You know, it's hard to know exactly how COVID affects anybody, but from everything that we heard, he didn't have severe symptoms or anything like that. And I know that he's, I know it killed him to not play on Tuesday night, and he stayed very active and engaged with the team through social media and stuff. So I'm sure he's been resting and hydrating and taking care of himself as best he can so he can get out there because, the saddest thing about that game on Tuesday is it ended a 97-game streak of consecutive starts for him. And, that's not going to put you in the Hall of Fame or anything like that, but it's pretty cool. And it's a bummer to have it in because of COVID, right? I mean, if it was a cold or something, he would have powered through and he'd be at 98 going into this one. So I'm sure that was disappointing to him, and I'm sure he's dying to get back out there.
For Remy Martin, Bill Self said about 60, 65% or wherever he is. When do you realistically expect to see him again?
Yeah, it's going to be at least another week or two. I mean, he won't play tomorrow. And I think at this point they're trying to get him closer to at least 90%, I think. That seems like a reasonable way where you can kind of expect him to do the things he's capable of doing. And right now he's just not able to do those things. And so at 60%, he's not giving you anything. So, excuse me. I think the rest of this week, probably all of next week, could even go into the week after that. I mean, it's hard to gauge it and guess on it because it's a matter of pain tolerance right now and how it feels, how well he moves, things like that. So I think that it's probably, I kind of thought 3 weeks when they shut him down, which was going into the start of this week. So that would be next week and the week after that too. So, I think 3 weeks gives it a fair chance. And then you see, because obviously they want him back for the stretch and for the tournament and all of those things. But it's a tricky situation too, because by that point you're talking about a player who hasn't played in a long time and wasn't 100% before that and is going to be dealing with some rust and things like that. So it's not ideal, we'll say that, but I know they would love to have him back before this thing's all over.
Craig, you're muted.
You still got me?
Yeah, we got. There you go, Craig. Go ahead.
Matt, how would you describe the last week for KU from the loss in the SEC Challenge to Kentucky? That was a little bit shocking, maybe final score-wise, to eking one out against Iowa State earlier this week.
Yeah, it was a weird week, no doubt, because they were favored in both of those games and favored against Kentucky at home on a big blue blood battle at home on College game day, all of that, and then to lay an egg. And then you go up to Iowa State with a bad taste in your mouth, and you follow that up by learning that Ochai's not going to play, and all of a sudden you're thinking, how the heck are they going to get this one done? And then it turns out it may have been one of the best things to happen to this team because it forced other guys to step up. It forced their bench to be a factor, and those guys delivered. And so, I think if they had beaten Kentucky or even played a better game against Kentucky and played them, tighter and down to the wire or whatever, even if they lost, I'm not sure they would have been in the right headspace to go up there and win that Iowa State game without Ochai. I think it would have been hard for them to be as hungry as they were, but coming off that loss to Kentucky and then realizing that, the leading scorer in the conference is out and you got to find a way anyway. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. I think that really challenged all of these guys and they took it personally and answered that call. So they deserve a lot of credit for that, of course. But it was a weird week. And I think it's one of those weeks that when you look back on this season, however they end up, whatever kind of run they make or don't make, however this season finishes, I think they'll look back at that transition between those two games as kind of a big moment, and especially if they make any kind of run worth talking about, anything Elite Eight or beyond. I think you'll look back at that and say, hey, this was a game where these guys realized they have more than just 3 or 4 players. There's actually guys on the bench they can count on and who can deliver if given the opportunity. So now we got to see if that carries over, and obviously there's no bigger test than the one they're facing tomorrow.
Yeah, and Baylor has been hit and miss a little bit. They had to gut it out to beat West Virginia on Tuesday, and I thought they were dead in the water. So they've had their issues. Do you feel like right now, other than Tech, the Kansas, of course, 7-1 in the conference, but got blown out by Kentucky. Baylor lost at Alabama. Are they playing like Final Four teams?
Kansas and Baylor, you're asking?
Yeah.
Gosh, it's so hard. I haven't seen a ton of Baylor. I thought until they lost 2 at home, they were, of course. But that made me wonder for sure, as little as I've seen. And it's hard for me to think, being as close to this as I am, it's hard for me to think that KU's there right now, mostly because of their defense. I mean, their offense is as good as they need it to be, as good as it can be right now, and it has multiple weapons, and they can play inside and out and things like that. And Baylor and KU, top 5 offenses in the country, of course, but I just don't like, especially for Bill Self teams. I don't really think that many people believe that's how you get to a Final Four. I think you've got to have some defense, and you've got to have a team that's consistent on that end of the floor. I think defense obviously can overcome a lot of shortcomings on offense way better than power and strength and quality things on offense can overcome shortcomings on defense. So I think the biggest question between now and the end of it for Kansas is how much better can their defense become? And if they can get better, if they can get into that top 20, top 25 range as a defensive team consistently, then you pair that with their offense, and then, I think they're as good a contender as maybe there is out there. But they were exposed against Kentucky. Fortunately for them, there aren't a lot of teams like Kentucky out there. The length and athleticism of Kentucky's big men, KU just had no answer for that. And so, that the good news from that perspective is they don't have to worry about when they get to the tournament playing a team like Kentucky 2-3 times in a row. There's only so many of those types of teams out there. So that gives them some hope and gives them also some time to get to the point where, they can shore things up a little bit and get better defensively and then really go after it and make a real run. But again, a lot of that comes back to Remy Martin too. I mean, he's not known for his defense by any means. He's an offensive spark plug and a point scorer and a playmaker and things like that. So when he's back, if they can get him back to that 90-100% health, if they're going to play him 25 minutes or 30 minutes a game, how much does his defense improve individually? And if the answer is not a lot, then he's probably not going to play those types of minutes either. So it's, it's weird to be entering, mid-February, just around the corner, and for Kansas and Celtic continue to have these types of questions, because this is stuff they usually figure out long before now, but they're still figuring it out, partly because of some injuries, but also partly because, of some things going on with guys in new roles and things like that, and it's just taking a little bit of time. They still do have some time, but if we talk before the next Kansas Baylor matchup, they'll be out of time by then. So it's a pretty big 3-4 week stretch right here.
David McCormack had a fantastic game against Iowa State. Is he, I guess, as the light come on, not really the appropriate term for him. Is he a guy that just got to deal with sometimes the light's on and sometimes it's not?
I think so. It's a very mental game for David McCormack. Physically, he's got everything you want. He's skilled. He's got good size. He's not a true rim protector, but he can be big down there. He can be a presence down there. His athleticism isn't going to wow anybody, but he's also pretty good for a guy that size in terms of moving athletically and laterally and moving on his feet and getting and running and things like that. So the physical part is usually there. It's the mental side of it that continues to kind of be what holds him back, and it's kept him from being consistent. A great example is that Kentucky game where he went up against a guy like Oscar Schwebe and was excited about the matchup and had known him since AAU. They used to be teammates, and he'd played against him before at West Virginia and had good games against him. So it wasn't like anything he hadn't seen. But he was totally outclassed, and he finished with 3 points and 1 rebound in 16 minutes. So he's still prone to disappearing like that, and Kansas just cannot have that the rest of the way. But then he responds like he did against Iowa State and went for 14 points and 14 rebounds, didn't miss a shot, looked like a man possessed, played to his size, played with passion. So it's there. It's always there. It's just a matter of, does he slow down? Does he calm down? Does he stay out of his own head and stay within himself and allow himself to get out there and deliver what he needs to deliver? Certainly easier said than done for anybody, but he's a senior, and I think that he's been around enough to know what it takes and what's required and all of that. He's had a foot injury going all the way back to the preseason. They've been talking about that a little more here in the last couple of weeks. Continuing to say it's not an excuse, but it is a factor, the foot sore, that kind of thing. But, Self and David McCormack would be the first one to tell you, sure, that may be the case, but the reality there is if I'm going to go out on the floor, I know that I'm expected to deliver. And when I don't deliver, I'm letting the team down. So this is a big game for him. I mean, like I said, that was sort of a Jekyll and Hyde thing, Kentucky and then Iowa State. And so now Kansas has an opportunity here, and he'll be going up against some good guys and good size. And obviously Flo Samba's a guy that can body with him and do some battling and whatever. And it won't be easy. So he's got to show that he can be relied on in these types of games, because these are the types of games they're going to need him the most if they want to get where they want to go. And they've said throughout the year that they're not going to be as good as they think they can be or as good as they want to be unless he's playing well. And so that's kind of shown, even though they only have 3 losses, that's kind of shown up in their 3 losses and in some other games where they've struggled but still found a way to win. It's been, David McCormack didn't really fully deliver, and it almost cost him, or it did cost him. So they need him. They're going to keep playing through him. They're going to keep trying to have him click and get it figured out. And if it does, like it did last season in Big 12 play, and he finishes as a double-double machine and on a hot streak, then they're going to be tough to beat.
He was big in that game last year at Lawrence against Baylor. I think he had 14 points in the first half, and he just kind of if they get him like that tomorrow or elsewhere, then obviously they're good. Wilson and Harris both showed up. Not that Wilson hadn't done that before, but they both scored in double figures. How huge was that on against Iowa State that they showed up because of Agbaji not being there?
Yeah, it was massive. Dejuan Harris played probably his best game since he's been at Kansas. And, he redshirted his first year, so he's been here 3 years now. And a no-frills kind of guy, just, goes to work every time out there. He doesn't say a whole lot. His size doesn't overwhelm anybody. He's a little dude, but he's so gifted. He's so talented. He's so smart. And, they want him to be more aggressive. They want him to be an offensive presence out there. And he was the other night. Now, a lot of his offense came from his defense, and that's what he's best at, is quick hands, active hands, playing defense, and creating havoc. And he got a lot of buckets the other night off of those types of plays. So, if that's where he can be moving forward, that's exactly what they need and want from him. I mean, there's Remy Martin or no Remy Martin. Dejuan Harris is this team's point guard, and Remy Martin's a nice option and a nice compliment, and a guy you can put out there who can score in bunches in a hurry. But nobody's going to take Dejuan Harris's role as the lead guard and the guy that initiates everything. So that was big for him and big for them, especially on a night when Agbaji didn't play. So now, and Jalen's the same way. I mean, he looked like he played with a purpose that was similar to what he did most of last year, where he kind of had that alpha mentality. He had that go-to player look to him, and he's comfortable in that. Jalen could walk into any gym and tell you he's the best player there, and then go try to back it up. And that's just how he's wired. He's confident, he's competitive, and you love guys like that. So they both showed up big time in understanding that they had to elevate their game with Agbaji out. And I think, again, that's what I said a minute ago about how that could go down as the best thing to ever happen to this team. It forced other guys to remember and remind themselves that, hey, look, we don't just have 17, 18 wins because we have the leading scorer in the Big 12 and a guy who's in the conversation for first team All-American and National Player of the Year. We've got much more than that. And I think that sometimes it's easy because of the way Ochai has played all season long and how efficient he's been and how good he's been. It's easy for guys to defer to that or get caught kind of standing around and waiting for him to do it. And they didn't have that luxury the other night, and they stepped up instead of falling down. And so it was a good reminder for them that the team has more weapons and more pieces. And I think they knew that all along, but it's just not been necessary every time out. So it was a big performance for them. And of course now, as long as he's feeling well tomorrow, he's obviously cleared. He had a negative test today, so he's in good shape and, eligible to play. So as long as he's feeling well, they'll get their first crack at kind of marrying the two schools of thought. Like, let's ride our horse, let's ride our All-American, but let's also remember that these other guys can help him along the way, and maybe he doesn't have to be everything all the time.
Matt, thank you again for being a part of the show. Matt Tate, the Lawrence Journal-World, covers KU and Baylor tomorrow afternoon in Lawrence. Allen Fieldhouse Fog at 3 o'clock, the tip. That's it with Matt Tate. Earlier we had Scott Drew. Coming up next, a couple of other sports stories to get to, an NFL coaching hire with a Super Bowl resume, a couple of notes about Oklahoma's Brent Venables, and what he's doing, spoiling the Oklahoma beat writers and those who cover Sooners football. Sick of 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
This month, it's all about the championship drive as our hometown team celebrated the Big 12 championship and a Sugar Bowl win. So can you in your new vehicle from Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Waco. During the President's Day sales event, shop for power, performance, and reliability from our selection of the new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star. Are you planning your next adventure? Choose from a range of Jeep models, including the 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Take home the trophy from Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by idealmri.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. idealmri.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
We are back. We'll hear from Xavier Newman Johnson, who was in the Shrine Bowl last night, along with Tyquan Thornton, also of course, in that event, at least part of that event in ways, was Treston Ebner and Kalen Barnes. That will be at 5 o'clock today, and I hope you have a chance to listen to that. If not, if you have to move on or come back and listen to the podcast with what he has to say about Eric Mateos. And so many things, guys, that we've discussed about his brain swimming with different positions more. We'll have that at 5. Tomorrow, Oklahoma plays at Oklahoma State. That game on ESPN2 at 11. Texas Tech at West Virginia on ESPN at 1. These are Central times. Iowa State, Texas in Austin. That's a 1 o'clock game on the Longhorn Network. Baylor, Kansas will be on ESPN at 3, and then Kansas State at TCU. TCU is just hanging around right there, number 4 right now, just ahead of Texas in conference play because of percentages. That game tips off at 7 o'clock. Now, I don't know, Craig, I know you're an Oklahoma fan, cover college football, but the Oklahoma media, Paul and Craig, are just they're being spoiled by Brent Venables in ways in which apparently it was not the Kremlin, but the access at Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley apparently was not great. Brent Venables was supposed to be on National Signing Day, and something happened technically. The Zoom or whatever kind of went in and out, and they just couldn't get much done. So Mike Houck came back along with Venables and told the media, the local media covering, that they were going to come back, and they did a session yesterday. It went 90 minutes. 90 minutes, all questions answered, lengthy responses. Of course, Venables is trying to get things done as well. but apparently the local media in Norman, Oklahoma City, in the state of Oklahoma is blown away by the access they get from Brent Venables.
Yeah, I mean, 90 minutes with any head coach is not normal. I don't know that I would get too used to that, but hey, if that's what he's going to do every time, then yeah, they've really hit a gold mine media-wise. We'd love to talk to Aranda on a more regular basis, but we don't get a chance to, and it sucks because he's a guy that's really interesting to listen to. But man, I can only imagine if we got 90 minutes with him, that'd be amazing. So yeah, it sounds like they're getting a little spoiled in a good way, and we'll see if he has too many more 90-minute media sessions along. I mean, something tells me that he's going to get a little busy for those, and that probably won't be a normal thing. But I've noticed too with their fans, like I think it was Stuart Mandel put out an early top 25, and he either didn't have them in there, or I think he didn't have them in there. And if he did, if I'm wrong about that, then he had them like really low. But I'm pretty sure he didn't have them in there. And I looked at his tweet talking about the response that he was getting, and there were over 400 replies to his tweet about Oklahoma not being in his top 25. And it was pretty much 400 Oklahoma fans telling him why he was an idiot and wrong, and how Venables is doing all these great things already. And like, I just get the sense that Oklahoma fans were kind of like prisoners in a way, and they've got like this new freedom they didn't know existed with like a coach that's actually like media friendly and open, and there's just a different way of doing things, and it's like it's a revelation to them. I feel like they've discovered like this new, I don't know, this new way of head coaches being or something, but they're awfully bought in already to Brent Venables, and very adamant in why they're going to not miss a beat and be the same Oklahoma they've always been, if not better, and pointing to Riley not having his head all the way into things last season, and pointing to their lack of physicality over the years, and pointing to this and that, and believing that Brent Venables is going to fix all those things. So I expect Oklahoma to be good next year. I don't know how good just yet, because I kind of need to see the roster take shape a little bit more. But just in terms of the media session thing, I mean, that's awesome. And I'm sure it was a B to have to sit there and re-listen to and recap, because I know how long that takes. And at 90 minutes, that would take forever, but in the best kind of way. So, yeah, good for them.
I had two thoughts when I heard 90 minutes. The first one is someone who sat through some long press conferences before, and I thought it better have been good, because 90 minutes is way too long for me when you think about like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to break this down or use something from this, and there's 90 minutes. It's just too much. But also, thinking about all the years that we've covered the Big 12, guys, and we didn't get Bob Stoops when he was at Oklahoma. We got him when he was in the XFL, and we got Lincoln Riley for the first time this year, and then he's gone. So it was refreshing me to hear that Brent Venables isn't scared of, it doesn't have some kind of, draconian media policy and is open up. But he also, there's a gap he has to bridge, not only with the media there and getting to know them, but with the fan base and letting them get to know what Brent Venables is now post his other time in Norman. I do think it's funny that he's got all these people coming to his defense and ready to fight for him to the death, when before they were like, I'll bring you some boxes from my house if you would just take any other job. And because they were just so fed up with the defense at Oklahoma when he was the coordinator there. But certainly he's kind of changed his the view of himself very well. But yeah, I 90 minutes is that's a long press conference, man. That's one of those that when you're do what we do in live radio, you're thinking like, am I going to have to be late to the show or leave this thing early and look like a jack? Like, I've had to do that a couple times in long press conference. Like, I got to go. I got a show to do, and I feel like I look like a jackass because I'm like, all right, that's it. I got to go.
No, you're right. And there are, like today, Scott Drew was available at 12:15, and usually on the day before perhaps a road trip, sometimes on the day of a game at home or so, we're able to get an assistant coach, but their travel schedule was so screwed up. So we didn't get an assistant coach today. We will, along with Scott Drew next Monday and Tuesday, whatever, but I had to jump out of it because I had to do the interview with Xavier. He texted me and said, hey, I'm ready to go now. And he's in a terminal. So you always kind of feel that's a long time. Matt Rule, even when they were struggling, and you guys know this, I used to tell you this, it blew me away. Because if you look at the head coaches at Baylor, Art Briles, of course, was here. Paul, when you had been here, and then when I arrived and we had a chance to get him for maybe 3 minutes. I mean, if you went past 3.5, 4 minutes, that was long. During the summer or spring, you might get him for a little bit longer. And when he was in more relaxed mode, he was even better. He was real good. Then Jim Grove was good. You know, you didn't 6, 8, 10, 12 minutes. But Rule was 15 to 20 minutes. And Aranda, we've had some that have gone 10, 12, 15 minutes with him. And I always feel like I'm sorry I took so much of your time because he has so much more to do. But a media session never really goes more than 15, 20 minutes at the most, whether it's a Monday or after a game?
Well, no, it doesn't. And the only ones I would get stuck at that were long were coaches who like to pontificate. And I'll let people guess who that coach was at Baylor that did that a lot. Really?
Yeah, I'm getting heavy. I'm getting heavy Chris Beard, Texas Tech vibes with Oklahoma and Venables and Riley. I don't know about you guys, but that's kind of the vibes that I get of the coach they had was pretty good. And then the way that he left soured a lot of people on him to the point where some have convinced themselves that he wasn't that good of a coach anymore and that the new guy's better. You know, that's kind of the vibes I get. And look, Mark Adams has Texas Tech just as good as they were. You know, like they're just as good. You know, are they going to get to a national championship game under him in the next few years? Possibly. Haven't done that just yet, but without making a judgment one way or the other, that is kind of the vibe that I do get, though, is Tech fans and basketball. That's how OU fans are in football right now. A little bit jaded by the way their coach left and how and where and all of that. And, you know, now having told themselves of, well, yeah, we were in the playoffs, nearly every year and winning the Big 12 title nearly every year. But by the end, we were getting ready to fall apart. Like it was gonna come crashing down, or maybe not crashing down, but it could be better. It could be better than it was. And look, maybe Venables does put them in a better spot than they were. I mean, he's recruited really well so far. He's hired some great assistant coaches, and he's hired what seems like, just in my viewing and passing, like dozens of peripheral coaches and staff members as well, recruiting members and things like that. So, they're going to be well tooled, and Dylan Gabriel's a nice replacement for Caleb Williams. It's about as good as you could do without having to throw in some 5-star freshman or something.
Yep.
But we'll see. I think the Big 12 is going to be awfully competitive next year because they're not the only team retooling. I mean, we've seen the moves that Texas has made. Baylor's going to be back strong. Tech should be better. TCU will be interesting. So it'll be a fun ride. But, yeah, I definitely get that shiny new car feeling and some of that Mark Adams, Texas Tech, Chris Beard vibes from OU fans right now.
Yeah, I agree, Craig. Right now I think it's a breath of fresh air because they're bitter. There's a little bitterness too. And hey, let's not fool ourselves. Some that cover teams that they cover are fans of those schools or programs. And we see that more now maybe than ever before because of just the way things are. And I think that all started to kind of get to be that way with blogs. And now, you can tell. Listen, we cover Baylor, and it's great when they win, and it's really nice when they win. And if they win, it's good for us too. But I don't think I've ever had a day when my day is ruined because of a result. It'd be nice, there have been some tough losses and there's been some tough stories along the way, but you have a lot of fanboys now, and I'm not focusing in on Oklahoma, but just the media in general. We talked about this even after the Cowboys and some of the reactions from those, and we've seen this back and forth with media members about the legitimacy of what is a journalist or whatever that means anymore. But yeah, I think hey, if Dave Aranda gave us 25, 30 minutes every single week or in a media session, I'd love to get him now after the season. We won't maybe till spring drills, but that's okay as well.
Yeah, and I'm just commenting more on the sense that I get from just observing the fan bases. I'm not making a judgment one way or the other. That's just what comparison it strikes me as is the Texas Tech Chris Beard thing. So we'll see. We'll see if Venables is Mark Adams and keeps the boat going and moving on along and maybe even better and faster and stronger, or if he's not. And if not, either way, that's going to be a big story. Like I said, not judging it one way or the other. That's just kind of the feel that I get of, a little bit jaded and of the belief that the new guy will do it the right way and do it better than the previous guy did, even though the previous guy won a lot of freaking games and Heisman. And, that's not just something that just any old guy who's not really doing his job accomplishes. So, it's going to be a fascinating thing to see them change coaches for the first time in a while and not just a transition from a legend to the guy in waiting, but like an actual full bore, cultural shift, staff shift, everything. It's a new era, truly, and it'll be really interesting to watch how this goes for OU.
Yeah, I think so. Craig, it's still a fantastic comparison you made between. It really is but fans do that. Although I was kind of expecting. What I was worried about with Venables, and he's done a good job to stake his claim and be out there. And you have to do this in the modern world. Was people going to be like, yeah, but Lincoln was so great, But instead, they're kind of, they're scorned lovers as a kind of a way, and be like, all right, you know what? No, the hell with you. Go to California, live your life. We don't care. I would think that Oklahoma fans, they've been so good for so long. You should have confidence in the fact that your administration can hire a good coach. So I think maybe that's that. Like Baylor fans, I think, are just starting to realize this about their administration, that, you can lose a coach and hire another coach. It's like the period of there's only one person who can do this well is over. That's not true for anywhere. That's not true for anywhere in the country. If you hire the right person, it doesn't matter. You just have to hire the right people. And Baylor's done that now, 3 times in a row over a couple different athletic directors. But, Mack Rhoades proved that, look, brought in Matt Rule left, brought in Dave Aranda, that worked. So Joe Castiglione's been at this a long time. He knows what he's doing. He's not going to be out there lost in the woods going, oh my gosh, who can do this? They're Oklahoma for a reason. And I think their fans know that, as comparatively to Baylor fans, that there was this trepidation of like, oh, we got lucky 2 times. Like, no, it's not luck, it's skill.
Yeah, Craig, we brought that up a lot, that my God, the world is over. And a lot of it was just because of how it went down, and it went down so fast back with Bryles. And then when Rule, of course, at times just angered people because of the flirtation, and eventually he left right after a tremendous year. And there was like, they'll never win again after Bryles. And of course, 1-11 made some people feel like that was probably true. And then when Rule left, 2-7, here they are, the 3rd coach, really 4th if you go back to Grant Taft, that has turned a program around so they can win. And despite sometimes what people may think about whoever the head coach might be.
Well, hell, 2.5 head coaches, because I'll count Grove as a half because he was an interim. 2.5 head coaches after the guy who couldn't be replaced, and they might have the best coach they've ever had. Yeah. They might. Look, he hadn't won 2 Big 12 titles, but he's also only been on the job for 2 years.
Yep.
His Big 12 title didn't come in a year when they were kind of expected to be. They were picked 8th in the preseason. They were picked 8th and won the Big 12 title convincingly. So, for all I know, for a program that wasn't going to be able to replace a guy, they've replaced him twice, and this second choice might be the best to walk through the doors if he sticks around long enough and keeps on the trajectory that he's already set for himself. Now, of course, there's dozens of different things that could happen along the way, coaching changes and all sorts of whatever, COVID, all that kind of crap. But just in general, Dave Aranda is a really damn good head coach. And for a program that couldn't find the guy, to ever live up to the other guy, they did it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how high he can take that torch. And you know what? Brent Venables could very well be the same thing. Lincoln was great. Got him to playoffs, won him some Heisman. I don't think they're going to be reeling off quarterback Heisman winners like they were, but I do think they can still win a lot of games. I still think they can win the Big 12 on a regular basis for as long as they remain in the conference, these next 2-3 years, whatever it ends up being. The question is, can they get over that hump that, quite frankly, not even Bob Stoops could really get over? Yeah, he won a national title in year 2, but following that, when the focus really was on them, because the focus wasn't on them when he won that title. Mm-hmm. They were not expected to be in that position. And then they sure as hell weren't expected to beat Florida State that year. So that was all completely unexpected and way ahead of anybody's schedule. And then he never won one after that. He played for a bunch of them. Lincoln played for some, and none of them ever won any more after that. So it's a really hard thing to do. Maybe but that's the thing that's been missing. They can get to that spot, but they can't quite crack through since 2000. Can Venables potentially be that guy? Maybe he is, and if so, then they'll be off to the races, and that'll be a whole incredible story unto itself.
All right, a couple of chat room comments, Craig. Good points, Paul. You too, as always, from Zach S. Hey, coming from a Texas Tech fan, and we have a lot of Texas Tech fans, and a lot of them appreciated the interviews we've had this week, including the one with Chris Level. Zach S., coming from a Texas Tech fan, I need you all to steal one on the road. And so I asked Zach, I said, you mean one in Lawrence, not Lubbock, right? I mean, let's make sure we get that. I haven't heard back from Zach.
Well, you gotta be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Dear God, bring me a woman who looks like Jennifer Aniston, but she might murder you. I mean, you gotta be detail specific.
Yeah. So Zach, thank you for that. Also, Roger the Dodger. Oklahoma fans have to get the salt out of their pockets and put the past in the past. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that at some point they're going to have to get, and it's not everybody, obviously, but we only see, the loudest people often, and there certainly have been many outspoken about Lincoln Riley. I think that most Oklahoma fans have started to move on, and they've just embraced the newness, because I think that's what happened. All we can use is the examples we've had. It's like it was. Like, Bryles had a bunch of loyal people. Eventually, that rule flipped them, and I think Aranda's pretty much, convinced everybody in a very short order that, they're all on board with him. But, for Venables, I think that there is still a little bit of that Lincoln Riley, hate, PTSD, whatever, left over. But these hires that he's made, these recruits that he's bought in, the excitement that he's drummed up, the 90-minute media session, like he's wooed over the media now. He's won over the fans, it appears, with some of his moves. So I think that the Lincoln Riley stuff's starting to subside a good bit. Not all the way, and it needs to, sooner rather than later, just be all the way out of the way. But I do think he's done a good job as best as he can without any games to play of, putting some of that to the side. But there's always going to be a bunch of fans that I would imagine will never quite get over their bitterness over that whole situation. And that's understandable to an extent, because it was a really weird deal when it happened.
Think about this from Stephen Snook. Cincinnati's last 5 coaches: Mark D'Antonio, Brian Kelly, Jones, Tuberville, and Fickle.
So some really good ones, and then one guy who's a sleazebag senator. So good, yeah.
No, Paul, talking football.
I mean, he was a sleazebag senator when he was a coach. He was not a good football coach at the end, either at Texas or Cincinnati.
At Cincinnati,
Texas fans can bond over that one.
Yeah, let them fight over that. All right, when we come back, we're not done, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think about this with Xavier Newman-Johnson. I texted him earlier today, then called him. He was bouncing over towards an airport to get on a flight to connect to another flight. You can imagine his day. He's been gone for a few days at the Shrine Bowl. What a performance he had, along with Taekwon. Yeah. We've heard about Abram and Jalen Petrie. Go ahead, Craig, at the Senior Bowl workouts as well.
Yeah, did not see much from Treston Ebner. Not sure, what the deal is or what there in that game last night. But yeah, did see a lot of Xavier Newman-Johnson, and there was a young man who you were almost, to be just totally transparent, you were almost, wanting him to move on before last year. In so many ways. Not from a depth standpoint, but just what you had seen the year prior, not knowing the type of success that Eric Mateos was going to have, but you just kind of wondered in terms of the offensive line of man, if he comes back for another year, is he going to be able to improve, or is he going to be the guy we saw this past season who, quite frankly, just wasn't very good? And to his credit, Eric Mateos revamped that whole unit, and Xavier dug deep and apparently, made a lot of changes personally as well. I guess in terms of growth, personal growth, they cited that a lot with him over the season. And yeah, he's a great story. To go from a guy who was just kind of there, maybe a little disappointing even, to, now getting high marks in this All-Star game, and, being on the the radar, at least, of some NFL teams. I wouldn't have thought that several months ago necessarily, but here he is, and it's a testament to his hard work, and I'm very happy for that young man.
Just one real quick thing. I asked him about switching positions and if it was muddling his head during the year in 2020, and it clearly was. And Smokey, I know you talked to them about that, but at that time, the answer he gave me was not. It was not. I'll say it was probably a little immature, and he was a little mad that I even asked the question. But you say that about personal growth, and if you tie the things of how well he played, it had to be some personal growth in there. So I'm happy to hear that. But Smokey, you remember that when I asked him that question, he was a little indignant about it, and like it wasn't chip on your shoulder indignant, like some guys in the media know what they're talking about. Like I wasn't wrong. He just didn't like the question at all, and kind of sloughed it off.
I asked him something similar about it. Plus and I don't remember. Yeah, he kind of discussed it as a strength and a negative, or a negative that became a strength. Paul, is Woodrow on the couch behind you? Is that no. Woodrow? Okay, I didn't know if that was Woodrow or not. I just was going to say hi to Woodrow. Woodrow's like our team mascot.
He's what he does is he's now on the landing of the stairs because Amanda's down there, so he likes to be between the two parties. So he can.
That's what dogs do. Yeah.
Yeah. He's in the middle. Like he doesn't.
The security, man, they got to have their eyes on all the exits and the people they're protecting and all of that. Yeah, that's a total dog move. But shout out to Woodrow.
For those that don't know, and we've been on the air since April 6th of 2020. We started where Paul is now, upstairs in his house. He built a studio. It was unbelievable with card tables and all that equipment. Is incredible. And Woodrow was there every day. And I mean, rarely ever made a noise, unless, of course, he had to go somewhere. And he started getting a little bit nervous and a little bit impatient, like all of us would do. Like right now, let's take a break. When we come back, conversation with former Baylor offensive lineman. Had a heck of a week at the Shrine Bowl. Xavier Newman-Johnson on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Altmaier steps up, drives the ball, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods again. That is his second of the night.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Offensive lineman, and one of the guys getting a lot of attention this week at the Shrine Bowl, not just during practice, but also the game that was played last night, Xavier Newman-Johnson, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Man, what a journey for you. I look where you are compared to how it all started for you when you arrived at Baylor as just a pup.
Yeah, man, it's been real good. Just being at Baylor the last 5 years have, helped me grow on and off the field. Whether it's from becoming a starter to graduating to becoming a team leader. I feel like Baylor is a great school, and it's really helped me along the path to get me to where I am today.
You had to play immediately. I mean, right off the top. And then you've had to play basically every offensive line position. And it wasn't always easy. And at times it seemed like it was probably harder than you could have ever expected. What changed for you this last season?
Honestly, man, it really just came with the guys in that room and our coach, Coach Mateos, man. Just, everybody realizing that this game it shouldn't be as complicated as it seems. We should all just go out there and have fun. And I feel like that's one thing that we did as a unit. Went out there and had fun, and the result of the year showed for itself.
Last year I'm talking 2020. I don't need to remind you how difficult it was. You were playing in different places. Did you ever feel like that once you got settled in, this is what you could do, and you knew your role? It was less confusing and allowed you to have it and just be instinctive?
Yeah, man. That whole year was just a bunch of negative energy, from COVID, the world getting shut down, to not knowing if you're going to have an opponent at the end of the week, or, just basically switching lineups the whole week, because, you could go into one lineup the whole week, and then Friday, 2 people are down because of direct contact to COVID. So that whole year was just a mental test for not only me, but my entire team. And, we didn't have the outcome we wanted that year. And as a senior class, we took that into consideration, and we made it known that we weren't going to finish like that, and we wanted to go out on a high note and go out in remembrance of Baylor. So,
Xavier, you had a tremendous week, practice clips. We've had some analysts, scouts talking. I've seen it about you, and, of course, last night during the game. How much did you get feedback on how you performed throughout the week?
I got a lot of positive feedback, a lot of good feedback into regards of helping my draft status and everything like that. And just, me going out there and being able to show that I can play all 3 different positions, at a high level was one of my main goals going in. And that was one of the main things that scouts wanted to see. So, going out there and doing that, I really think I did pretty good at it, and, you know, the rest took care of itself.
Not everybody could play, but what was it like to have some of your teammates with Treston and Taekwon had a big night, and obviously Kalen was there as well? How much did that kind of make it comfortable for you?
Man, you know, it was fun getting to see those guys, just knowing we went our separate ways after the bowl game and start training for the draft. And just being able to get another week with those guys again was pretty fun, especially Taekwon and Treston, just because, you know, we're on the offensive side. So being out there with them and seeing them make plays in practice just reminded me of, you know, us being back in Waco at the grass field at Harris. So, you know, that was fun, man, just getting a chance to play with those guys again, being in meetings, you know, hanging out again, and that was real fun.
I talked to Coach Mateos after, I think it might have been either at the end or even during spring drills a year ago. And I was like, after what happened, and again, I don't want to keep rehashing, but 2020 was not good by any means. But I said, what is this a talent issue on the offensive line, or is it just something else? And he said, it's not a talent issue. He goes, but what we have to do is find out and make sure these guys know their clock is ticking. And you're one of those. Did that ring a bell to you in any way?
Yeah, man, you know, I think that was one of many things I would say that stuck out to me, just, you know, me and my interactions with Coach Mateos one-on-one or in the group session. You know, that was a thing that constantly went off in my head, you know, but at the same time, I wasn't really thinking about that as much. I was just focused on enjoying that time instead of thinking about, man, it's almost over, it's almost over. And, you know, if you think like that, then you look up and it is over. So I just took it one day at a time, you know, enjoying those meetings, enjoying the little things, like after practice, going up there and watching extra film, laughing with the guys, you know, hanging out with each other, going to eat dinner, going to hang out at Coach Mateo's house. So I feel like that's one way to, you know, go about that. Even though the clock is ticking, you still have to enjoy those little things because you don't want to get overwhelmed with the end goal.
Can you describe Eric Mateos, not only as a football coach, as a person, a man, a friend? I mean, the job he did, along with Coach Grimes and others, as far as the changes, he was Sean Bell to quarterbacks. But can you in any way describe Eric Mateos to us?
Man, you know, me and Coach Mateos have really grown a great relationship, you know, and I can describe Coach Mateos as a true stand-up guy. You know, if you take football out of the whole situation, you know, my father passed away after the night of the Texas Southern game. And, you know, just that whole month and that stretch right there was real hard for me. And he was one of the biggest, like, comforters, one of the biggest supporters I had during that time. Like, that night, you know, he called me and we talked on the phone for about 30 minutes, you know. Just, man, just that alone just showed me what type of man he is, regardless of football. You know, he's the greatest, like, best football coach in my eyes. But take football aside, just him as a man, you know, seeing him be a husband, seeing him being a great coach, treating us like his own kids, man. You know, you don't get that a lot with coaches, and just being able to have one like that for my last year was real good, and I'm forever grateful for that.
We're talking to Xavier Newman-Johnson, Baylor offensive lineman, coming back from the Shrine Bowl, getting ready for the rest of the next few weeks as far as up to the NFL draft. What was it like to go from not being able to move anybody as an offensive line to then absolutely just mauling people, and they knew it as well?
Man, you know, I just feel like that comes with confidence, and that just comes with the group just saying, you know, enough is enough. Like, that's one thing that we talked about as a unit this year, you know, because, as you know, the offensive line wasn't the strongest point on the team. We were the weakest, if you want to be honest. And just going into this last year, you know, one thing Coach Aranda and the staff harped on was this team needs to be led by the O-line and the D-line if we expect to win those big games and do great things. And that started, you know, when the workouts with Coach Vic, you know, just grinding it out, sleds and running and fourth quarter drills. And after a while, you know, we had to take it upon ourselves, and the leaders like me, Connor, and some of the defensive guys, we told us in the group, we was just like, we're going to lead this team, and we're going to do great things. And if we expect to do great things, it starts with the guys up front. So, you know, and like I said, Aranda, the staff, and the team, they challenged us, and we stepped up to that challenge, and we had a great season like we did.
When did you know the wide zone would click? When did you go, damn, this is going to work?
Well, you know, in the past, we didn't really run too much of that wide zone. So going into spring ball, you know, we saw flashes. We saw flashes of how it looked. We saw flashes of, you know, when we actually get the technique down, how dangerous the offense could be. And, you know, going into summer, we knew, yeah, we showed flashes, but it was nowhere near where we wanted it to be, where the staff wanted it to be. And going into fall camp, you know, we just kept progressing, kept grinding, kept getting better at it. And then throughout the season, you saw, like, how good we got at it.
You have now played basically every position, and you did again this week in a lot of ways. How much more valuable does that make you, in your opinion?
You know, talking to scouts and just different guys, you know, being an interior guy, it's good, and you add a lot of value to yourself by being able to play all three positions. So that was one of my main goals, was to be able to show that I can play all three positions at a high level and still play at a high level. So that's one thing I went in this week, you know, learning the playbook we got for the Shrine Bowl at all three positions, being able to understand it and acknowledge it and teach it at the same time. So that was one of my main goals, and being able to do that was pretty cool.
Hey, I know you're getting closer. You got flights to get back from the Shrine Bowl, a connecting flight as well. Because of how often you moved around, especially a year or two at Baylor, did you ever, when the snap came, if you weren't playing center or you were, or guard, did you ever, even during a play, sometimes not even know what position you were playing?
No, man, you know, I take that as preparation. You know, that's one thing I could say I did, was making sure I knew all three positions. So just in case in the heat of the moment it came time that I needed to go in at a different position, it wouldn't be, you know, completely different. It wouldn't feel different. It would just be switching my stance, basically. So that's one thing I tried to do. Well, not tried to do, I did do during the week, was just learning the plays at all three positions and trying to get reps at all three.
You were a part of two complete rebuilds at Baylor with Coach Rule and Coach Aranda. What was that like to experience that, and did the first one help you with the second one?
Yeah, so I feel like the first one helped me, you know, because at that time we were still underclassmen. So I felt like that was the time I was able to sit back and learn from guys like J. Mike and Bravion and Henry Black and Jordan Williams and Clay Johnson and Tech and all those guys, and learn how it is to be a leader. So when Randy came in, you know, it was just like, hey, we're gonna be the ones to do what he's preaching. Us as leaders are going to be the ones that do what he's preaching, so everybody else can fall in line and see that, hey, this is how things are going to be done. And when Aranda said something, we were the guys to back him up. We were the guys to, hey, like, this is how things are going to be done now. We have a new head coach. We have a new staff. We have a new everything. And Coach Rule is a great coach, but Aranda was our coach, and we was behind him 100%, everything he was preaching.
Xavier, last thing, if you're a young man that wants to play offensive line and you see what you guys did a year ago at Baylor, what would you say to somebody that is looking at where they should play college football?
Man, I would say go to Baylor, man. You know, Coach Mateos, Coach Grimes, Coach Bell, that whole offensive staff is great, man. And not only great coaches, great people off the field. It's rare you're going to find that in college coaches nowadays. It's rare you're going to find college coaches, you know, that'll text you out the blue, that'll just call and just ask how you're doing, you know. And those three guys right there are true testaments of what a great man is. All three of those guys have had impacts on my life, and I'm forever grateful for that.
You enjoying all this, man?
Yeah, definitely enjoying it.
Thank you, Xavier. Congratulations on the week. I know there's a lot more to go between now and the draft, but congratulations on the week you had at the Shrine Bowl and also everything going forward and the access you gave us. Xavier Newman-Johnson, Baylor guard, offensive lineman, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity, if people have to pay things off, as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, we're back. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Thanks to Xavier Newman Johnson for his time as he's flying back from his time at the Shrine Bowl. Somebody that, in fact, was all over that. Josh Carney, he covers the Steelers and does quite a bit up in Pennsylvania, also a part of the USA Today network as well. He joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Josh, we just had Xavier on, and obviously Tyquan Thornton, you were there. And then I noticed that you put up a lot of various things when it comes to the NFL draft, not just covering the Steelers, but what were your thoughts about what you saw from Tyquan Thornton? We'll start with him, the Baylor wide receiver.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for having me on. Tyquan was a guy coming in that I had done a little bit of work on, just knowing he's coming from the Big 12, from a good offense in Baylor. When I got his measurables, I was a little concerned. Obviously, he has, I think, 7 and 7/8 inch hand size, which is historically low for the receiver position, but he wowed everyone in attendance throughout the entire week. He was a physical receiver, very good route runner, consistently created separation, and the hand size was never an issue. This guy went up and made plays in contested catch situations, ripped the ball away from a few defensive backs here and there. He was arguably the best receivers there throughout the week, right there with Oklahoma State's Remy Martin and Miami's Charleston Rambo. But, a guy that, I was high on coming in, and he did nothing to cause me to drop my my thought process on him. He very solid receiver. I'm sure if he gets a combine invite here, his name will start to spread a bit more.
Josh, Xavier Newman-Johnson was a guy who kind of had an up and down career, but finished on an up, a big up at Baylor. What did you think of what you saw from him this week, and where might you slot him going in the draft?
Yeah, he was arguably the best lineman here as well, right there with North Dakota State's Cordell Wilson. The big thing with Xavier Newman-Johnson was his versatility. I know that he had started the week out at center, and I think by last night in the Shrine Bowl itself, he had played left guard and right guard, which is what he did at Baylor. He was absolutely fantastic throughout the week. Very athletic lineman, good hands in tight, was able to handle power. I think a team is going to fall in love with him just due to his interior versatility, and I would not be shocked to see him come off the board, early day 3, in that 4th round range. Just a ton of experience, a very smart, cerebral kid. Just a great interview there as well. Had a lot of people talking on the sidelines. A lot of scouts and executives were mentioning his name and just how well he was performing, handling multiple positions.
Well, as we continue down the list of Baylor guys, a couple of the others like Newman-Johnson and Thornton seem to make a lot of waves. The other two were a little bit more quiet, but Treston Ebner, obviously a very versatile athlete, running back, special teams. Didn't really see much in the way of, last night that turning into, a big game or anything like that. But what were your thoughts on Treston Ebner and how he fits in at the next level?
Yeah, I think he's going to just be a solid number 2, number 3 type running back. Brings some power. He's able to catch the football out of the backfield. The special teams abilities will definitely help him catch on to a roster and hold on for hopefully a lengthy career. He kind of seemed overwhelmed at times when he was out on the practice field. I know he was picking up a new system, working with new quarterbacks. And those quarterbacks did him no favors out of the backfield whatsoever. But Tristan wasn't really able to showcase his abilities and show what he was able to do at Baylor throughout his career, just due to the practice setting. Obviously did not have a chance to really showcase his talent in the game last night. But, that's a guy who's going to, fly under the radar. And then someone's going to pick him, middle of day 3, late day 3, or priority free agent. And they're going to be very happy with just the overall skill set he brings to the position.
How much does the conversation about Xavier, back to Xavier Newman-Johnson, that he was thrust into it immediately because Matt Rule's first team had 6 scholarship offensive linemen, and then 2 years ago, the offensive line was a mess. They didn't know from week to week who could practice, much less by the end of the week who could play because of COVID. And then to see what he did and what Eric Mateos did, how much does that resiliency make a difference at all when you're looking at him as an NFL team?
I think that's huge. The thing is, how do these guys handle adversity? And obviously, he was thrown into the fire right away. Some guys, in a sense, they sink or swim in those situations. And I think he was able to stay afloat. And then once Eric Mateos came in, we know all that he was able to do at BYU in his career. I think that was a huge addition to that room. He mentioned Coach Mateos and how impactful he was on his career. But I do think that adversity and undergoing a number of changes, he had told us he had to learn 4 different playbooks in 4 years at 3 different positions. I think that type of adversity and the way that he was able to grow year after year, put together the season he put together in 2021, and then put the performance together that he put up in Las Vegas this past week is going to be great for him, and I'm sure NFL teams are really going to value that.
Have you seen anything at the quarterback position that would make you excited at all?
No, not from this class. Not of the group that was in Las Vegas. I know that the Browns, E.J. Perry, won the team MVP or the offensive MVP. Had a really good performance, but yeah, I think the frustrating thing for a lot of the running backs and a lot of the receivers, tight ends throughout the week was just they felt limited by the quarterback play. I know that Tyquan Thornton, there were times in team sessions on all 22 where he would beat his guy cleanly and be wide open, and the quarterback wouldn't even see him. So I don't see anything with this crop of quarterbacks in Las Vegas, but all eyes are on Mobile right now.
The last Baylor member that was a part of that roster, he was probably the quietest in terms of being talked about throughout the week, but cornerback Kalen Barnes, what were your thoughts on what you saw from Barnes?
Yeah, that was a guy that coming in very quiet, didn't know much about him, but once they got on the practice field into the one-on-one settings, team settings, he was able to use his size, length, and physicality and really hold his own. And one of my colleagues that was there with me just continued to mention him as one of his winners. He does very well at pressing guys, working into the sideline, using his sideline as a secondary defender. And that length, I think, is going to have teams very, very intrigued. Obviously the cornerback position seems to be going that way in the NFL to kind of handle these height, weight, speed guys at receiver. And Kalen had a really solid week. I know that he struggled at times against Remy Martin from Oklahoma State in 1-versus-1, but he quietly put together a really solid week, which kind of matches his personality because he did not have much to say when talking with the media, which just kind of matched what we saw on the practice field.
And that kind of matched what we saw in Waco for 4 years too. Just so you know, he was never a big talker. Yeah.
Yeah, he was always kind of just rather not even be. Well, it doesn't mean he doesn't have a personality, whatever. But there's some guys that are different than others. I know the Senior Bowl. That's where all the focus is today. Jalen Petrie and Abram Smith were both honored for what they did this week. Abram Smith at running back was a great story, and of course Petrie as well. Josh, your thoughts about from what you've seen from them, and also just what you've known about them as they now head into this stretch when it comes to the NFL draft.
Yeah, Petrie's a guy that you talk about versatility in the secondary. I know that some people want to play in the corner, some people want to make him the nickel corner. I think he played some safety there in Mobile this past week, but that's just a guy that, jack of all trades, one on your roster, you one on your defense. He brings it all. As far as Abram Smith, that was a guy that, I'd seen highlights of. Haven't had a chance to really dive deep into his film, but the thing that stands out is the physicality and the speed, and to have those two types of playmakers in the backfield in Baylor and Smith and Ebner last year, that had to be a ton of fun to watch for a fan base. But Petrie's a guy I think you're going to see continue to rise, up draft boards, and I would not be shocked to see him as a top 35, 40 player off the board for the 2022 draft.
Is that because everybody's base is nickel and he can flourish in that role?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if this were 10 years ago, where base was truly base, I think his value would be pushed down a bit. But his ability to be that nickel guy that can handle himself in the box, can handle the slot receiver, still bring that physicality against the run, that causes his value to skyrocket.
So I know there's other events coming up. Obviously a lot of these guys will get combine invites. There's of course pro days and private workouts as well. But just in terms of the road to the draft, I mean, how much importance do you think teams place on all-star weeks and what they see in these practices?
It genuinely depends on the front office that you're referring to. I mean, just covering the Steelers alone, they value the All-Star weekend. That's where they really dive into the draft process. Typically they're playing late into the season, so they get a later start than most teams. But, the All-Star process is a place to go and see some of the best players. Some of these staffs, like the Shrine Bowl staff, did a fantastic job finding some of these smaller school guys to bring into situations like this. But I think it certainly plays a part. But just because you go to an All-Star event like this, whether it's the NFLPA Bowl or the Honolulu Bowl or the Hulu Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, Hula Bowl, then you have the Senior Bowl. Just because you go to these, it doesn't guarantee you're going to get drafted, but it certainly helps. And I think having the week that some of these Baylor guys did here in Las Vegas is really going to help their draft stock, especially Xavier Newman-Johnson. I can't state it enough how blown away I was by him live. He's certainly one of the smaller guys that will enter the league along the offensive line, but he more than held his own and was just really impressive throughout the week.
What's interesting about that? Josh Carney, again, with the Beaver County Times in Pennsylvania, covers the Steelers, among other things, a huge NFL draft guy, is that he could have, if Mateos hadn't shown up, he could have just gone into oblivion and never had this chance. He could have just disappeared.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, again, when I sat down with him for a one-on-one, he mentioned Coach Mateos, and it was just he kind of, in a sense, saved my career. He opened my eyes to things I needed to work on. And when you have a guy like Mateos come in and he has the pedigree that he does from BYU, we saw that. You have to listen to that guy and really just take credit to Newman-Johnson. He could have been stuck in his ways. He could have been frustrated having to deal with another coaching staff, another playbook, but he bought in, and I think he completely unlocked his potential.
Yeah, just go back if you want to see a jump. Just watch 10 plays from 2020. That's all you'll need to see.
Yeah.
And see how bad it was, and then how he swung back up. You do cover the Steelers. What is the sense you get around them about what they want to do at quarterback?
Yeah, they keep telling the media and the fans that it's going to be Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins, kind of battling it out. They may add a veteran like a Marcus Mariota. I get the sense, though, just based off the work that they're doing in Mobile right now and some of the buzz that I'm hearing, that they really like Liberty's Malik Willis. They really like Cincinnati's Desmond Ridder, and they're very high on North Carolina's Sam Howell. I know that the easy connection seems to be Kenny Pickett from Pitt because he shared a facility with the Steelers right in the backyard. But, Kevin Colbert, Brandon Hunt, who's the pro scouting coordinator, and then obviously head coach Mike Tomlin, they all have different favorite quarterbacks in this class. So I think it'll come down to Willis, Ridder, or Howell. And if they want Willis, they're probably going to have to trade up like they did for Devin Bush a few years ago.
A couple of receivers I wanted to ask you about. You mentioned Tay Martin earlier. We saw a great bit of him at Oklahoma State. And also Charleston Rambo finished his career at Miami but started off at Oklahoma. Texas native, followed him in high school. What are your thoughts on those two prospects?
Rambo really stood out in a big way. I know obviously when he transferred from Oklahoma to Miami, there were question marks of what was this going to do to his career, because he was going from a situation that had Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams to De'Aaron King. I think he kind of left out in a sense getting Tyler Van Dyke due to King's injury. He really stood out this past week, and I have to do a further dive into his tape, but just a guy that was a smooth route runner, could play through contact, was able to create a ton of separation and really kind of put himself in that discussion of best receiver in Vegas. Tay Martin, you come from an air raid system like Washington State and then Oklahoma State. You're not a finished product by any means at receiver. And he'll admit that. His route tree is extremely limited, but I think the thing that stood out to me throughout the entire week was his ability to get clean releases off the line. Guys were testing him consistently when it comes to press coverage, especially Kalen Barnes. And Tay Martin was able to get clean releases time after time. The route running will certainly come. I think he's going to be that day three receiver that a team takes and thinks, okay, we can develop this guy. And I think he will have a very, very productive career. He knows how to create separation, even if he does not have the full route tree at his disposal at this moment.
Hey, Josh Carney with us again. Josh, one more thing from me, and Craig and Paul might have follow-ups, is where is Terrell Bernard? I know Bernard's battled an injury this week, but he was such a spectacular player, and he's had that in the past as well. As far as Terrell Bernard, where do you see him in the NFL? Pretty much wherever he needs to be?
Yeah, pretty much wherever he needs to be, honestly. I know the injury has caused some concerns. He's missed the Senior Bowl this week, but he's just a guy, again, similar to Jalen Petrie. Like, a defense is going to want him because he can play multiple positions. He doesn't have to come off the field, when they go to 4 and 5 receiver sets or anything like that. He can stay on the field when they go into 12 personnel or 22 personnel. He's just a guy that makes plays, and hopefully he can get past his injury bug because I think he's a fantastic player. He's the guy that I actually started to watch first when it came to the draft process coming out of Baylor, just because I had heard the name consistently on Saturdays for the last few years. So, yeah, he's going to be kind of that Swiss Army knife that can play in the box, could handle, playing out on a slot receiver if he needs to, rushing off the edge. Just a fantastic player, and I wish people could see him in Mobile this week.
I could ask you about a million other guys, but I know that you got to go, so I'll just throw another Big 12 name out there for you. Dawson Deaton, offensive lineman at Texas Tech. I saw a couple of tweets referring to him throughout the week. What did you see from the Red Raider?
Dawson kind of struggled there at times. Snapping the football was a concern. I know he had a bad snap in the game last night as well. A lot of that had to do with guys being right over top of him. Obviously, Marquand McCall from Kentucky was the man over him last night that caused the bad snap in the game. But he just seemed like he was a little overwhelmed with size and power, especially head up. But he looked very athletic. I know that he got some reps at center as well, was rotating in and out of center and left and right guard. I think right now, without doing more work on him, just based off of what I saw in Vegas, he's probably a late day 3 priority free agent guy at this point. But again, that versatility is going to help him stick when it comes to training camp battles and roster cutdowns.
Josh, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, Josh, I was just curious what your thoughts were on the move to Las Vegas for the event. I know that the Shrine Bowl with Galco and company are trying to really bump that event up, but just what were your thoughts on kind of how, all that went in Las Vegas, the atmosphere, the pairing with the Pro Bowl and all that?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. That was the first year I had been to the Shrine Bowl. Obviously, it was in St. Petersburg, Florida, for a few years there. But this was very well done by the Shrine Bowl staff. They were able to coordinate with UNLV. We got to take in practice 2 days at the Fertitta Football Complex, which is a beautiful complex. I wish UNLV was a little better in football to kind of get that exposure, but just a fantastic job by the Shrine Bowl staff to have over, I think, 115 players. There was apparently more than 650 scouts and front office personnel from the NFL, the CFL, XFL, and USFL. Just a fantastic event. Allegiant Stadium is all that it is hyped up to be. I mean, that thing is truly the Death Star. It is it is out of this world. It is overwhelming walking into it as well. But, yeah, they just did a fantastic job. A lot of these players were so grateful for the opportunity and were just having a blast. And Vegas was very interesting.
Yeah, it can be. Now, you have at times been able to talk a little bit with Matt Rule. I know there's a connection there as well. Have you spoken with him lately?
I have not. No, I have not. Not since his Temple days. But, yeah, he's a Penn State guy. I grew up in the area. But I have not had a chance to talk with him since his Temple days. But certainly pulling for him in the NFL. I know it's been a little rough for him lately. But,
yeah,
very good guy, a great coach, gets the most out of his players, and hopefully he turns things around in Carolina.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. He's looking for the talent that you're talking about as well. Josh, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate your time. It's good stuff. Josh Carney joined us. Again, he covers the Steelers, but started seeing some of what we have from him on my timeline. And then, we had Matt Alkire on earlier this week. And go-to people that we'll have as we continue on closer and closer towards the Combine, Pro Days, and much more.
Yeah, it's great to hear that Xavier Newman-Johnson's made the jump that he has. Never would have projected him as a draft pick a year ago, but here he is, and that's possible. At least that's on the table for him. Jalen Petrie, I feel like he's got the most juice as far as probably the guy to get selected highest. And I mean, shoot, he talked about him like almost a borderline first-round pick. I mean, if you go back to what he said earlier, I mean, top 35-ish, I think is what he said. So that would be incredible if Jalen could skyrocket that way. I did want to mention one thing, and I'm not sure if we mentioned this before or not, but I did see a tweet where K-State put out like their first Ask the AD video on YouTube. I guess that's something that they do. And Gene Taylor was their AD was answering a bunch of different questions, and he said the plans are for Big 12 football and basketball scheduling and divisional proposals to be presented and discussed in the March AD meetings and then voted on for final approval in May. So I just wanted to mention that. We might have already done that at some point, but just, people have questions about like the divisions and how that's all going to be laid out. So we'll find out more here in the next 2-3 months, it looks like.
Kansas's athletic director had a press conference yesterday or this morning as well, and he was like, look, the reality is that there's going to be some financially lean years without knowing what's going on. He also said that, look, nobody coming in can replace the monetary value of Texas. I mean, he's just stating obvious things, but there might be some lean years coming up. But I think they feel good about the financial future. But it was kind of interesting to hear him say that about those things going on, because most in the league haven't really come out and said like, yeah, it could be lean. Could be a little bit lean.
Well, his quote, and one of our viewers sent this to me. He goes, I do forecast that I could get in trouble for this from the conference, but I do forecast going backward in our media distribution. Well, that's mathematics. You might have 12 teams, not 10, and you are losing Texas and Oklahoma. No one's ever argued about the value those two teams came in, and that's one of the reasons they're also leaving, because they feel like they're not getting enough. But he did mention, and I thought that it wasn't on purpose, but Houston, Cincinnati, Brigham Young, and Central Florida, it was like, listen, they're just – no one's going to come close to the value. And, he's mathematics. It's not rocket science what they're losing. But at the same time, I thought it was interesting. He was talking to the Kansas Senate, by the way, about just athletics and financing and all that.
Well, they're going to – the conference is going to go back. The difference is it going to go back to – $9 million a year like everybody thought it was at the beginning, or is it going to go from what was going to be $35 million to 31 or 29, something like that? So you can withstand the loss of a couple $1 million. You can't withstand the loss of 30.
It's not going to be that.
It's not going to be that.
I don't know that. I don't have that evidence, but
I don't think it's going to be that.
I believe that it could even increase. Because of, again, the craziness of who starts to compete for the content, whatever, that remains to be seen. Jacksonville hired Doug Peterson. That's one of the jobs that was interesting. Now with Peterson, a guy who's a quarterback guy, and Trevor Lawrence, maybe one of the better options they might have had. I don't know.
I got to say, I saw some hot sports opinion guys, which, they're all over Twitter. And like 5 minutes after that was announced, people were poo-pooing on it. Like, why would you take him over Leftwich? It's like, what has Leftwich done more so than Doug Peterson? Like, how are you going to bash on the Doug Peterson hire and then say they should have hired Leftwich instead? Like, if you're just simply making hires based on race, they should have hired Byron Leftwich. If you're going off the more proven coach, it's Doug Peterson, and it's not even freaking close. So, I mean, maybe Byron Leftwich is the next great big thing. I mean, he might be. I know he's in the mix for the remaining jobs, although those are starting to get whittled down, but I think anybody who made the comment of like, why him over Leftwich, or like the fact that it even was a thought makes me question how much you know and talk about football.
Well, and Leftwich took himself out of that job.
Yes,
he had it in the bag, but it wasn't a marriage that was going to work for him in its current situation. So he took himself out. So it wasn't that they hired Peterson over Leftwich. Leftwich took himself out. So now they hired Peterson over whoever else was on their list, but it wasn't over Leftwich. Leftwich decided that wasn't a situation he wanted to get into, and Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. You know how many other coaches have done that? 0.
Yes, ever in 56 Super Bowls now, and the Eagles have lost, of course, in a couple of them. And it doesn't fit the narrative, though, Paul or Craig. It Leftwich, he didn't get it. He's a black assistant coach, or he's a guy who's a coordinator. He's at least, again, Doug Peterson has a Super Bowl ring. There's a reason he was also fired by Philadelphia. Yeah,
it's not even
he has a history with Green Bay, too.
It's not even so much about Leftwich. That's just the comparison they were using, or just these very uneducated opinions we're using. I think it's more about like trying to knock Doug Peterson as if he's just some bum off the street. I think that's ridiculous. Like, I agree. The dude can coach. I'm not saying he's going to fix Jacksonville, because Lord knows, like, Belichick might not even be able to fix Jacksonville. But I mean, he's not some bum in street clothes they just selected off the sidewalk outside the stadium. So I'm curious to see what he does. I think he's certainly an upgrade over the guy they just had. There's not even a question about that. They're automatically better with the new coach versus the Urban era already, and they haven't even had a practice yet.
There's only 2 people that can fix Jacksonville, and neither of them will ever coach it down, and that's the Cons. That's it. Shad and Tony Khan are the only ones who can fix it. Look, the only people who can fix the Browns, the Lions, the Bears, the Cowboys. Like, the only person who can fix the Cowboys is really Jerry Jones. He has to hire people to help him fix it, but the owners are the only ones. That's it.
You almost went into that Lions and Bears and Tigers, oh my, or whatever that is. Yeah, it sounded like. Yeah, no, Jacksonville's second year, I believe, when Tom Coughlin was the head coach, they were on the verge of being in the Super Bowl. That's when Carolina and Jacksonville both went to the NFC and AFC championship games as expansion teams in year 2.
And that's when Wayne Weaver owned the team, so it's a little bit different now. And look, Tom Coughlin, did a lot of good things in the league for a long time for 2 different franchises. You need to have, but when they brought him back to Jacksonville, he didn't really. He got him back. He got that team back to they went to the AFC title game a few years ago, kind of on grit and defense with all that. And Blake Bortles was the quarterback, so you can win. I mean, if you have the right people in place and let them do their job. But the Cons are the only ones who are going to do that. And trying to getting Urban Meyer in there and trying to college rah-rah their way into it was not what they needed. He had no practice, taking the character concerns out of it with Urban Meyer. Just the way he looks at football is not really even the modern way to look at coaching a football team, and especially he was so used to the what I say goes that when you can say that when you're a guy who makes $7 million and everybody makes 0. But when you're a guy who makes $7 million and 5 of the guys on the team triple your salary, you don't really have as much say as you think you do anymore.
Yeah, no, you're right. Good stuff. A lot of things we touched on a lot today. The Kansas Baylor tomorrow and the Shrine Bowl. We've had 2 elite guys, it seems like, with the analyst of what was going on in Vegas and also what has been going on at the Senior Bowl in Mobile.
I know we got to run, but I did want to make mention Baylor's finally officially put out their new coaches. As they're all, I guess, paperwork's finally all now done. Ronnie Wheat, assistant coach, safety, special teams. Dallas Baker, wide receivers. They also announced several behind-the-scenes moves, like Aaron Hunt, assistant AD of scouting, Tyler Foster, associate director of player personnel, Monique Felix, Kiaba Sol Cormier, Connor Morgan. So, yeah, they just put out a graphic. If you're a Baylor fan, want to check that out. But 8 new moves or hires that they've made this offseason now official in front of on the coaching staff and then behind the scenes in the football department as well. So just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, and that's Dave Aranda. And one of the reasons he has been focused on that as the kids have come back, young men have come back as well, he has been, and Colt has been all over this in the premium section and some of the things we discussed as well. He has been molding that department, changed some things up, added some things, moved on, gotten things that where he wants, and he's not done. When we come back, we'll have Paul Catalina to wrap it up the week. Top 5, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation. Payments for qualified buyers only at 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details. It's New Year, New Ride time at Richard Carr. New Year pre-owned deals like a 2017 Dodge Challenger for $272 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $422 a month, or a 2014 Cadillac CTS sedan for $227 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 things you can't make a top 5 about. So these are all things, guys, that you cannot, like, I could not make a top 5 list about. It'll run out after a couple. So I couldn't do it, so I decided to just throw this out there so people would know and not suggest these to me when we get to Fridays and I take listener suggestions. All right, so number 5, airport security efficiency methods. There are not 5 airport security efficiency methods. Smokey, you sent a video that Ian Fitzsimmons posted on Twitter this morning of the DFW line. Look, I understand some things happened 21 years ago that were at fault of the airline security procedures, but there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way than we're doing right now, and they haven't come up with anything in over 20 years.
You're muted.
Muted.
It's probably a good thing. There's not enough time for it. But I saw this note. I saw this video. Ian was walking and the security line, it never ended. Do you guys know how I started blowing into a brown paper sack? because I felt so claustrophobic by just seeing that line. It wasn't 10 people or 100 people. It was hundreds of people. How did they get to their flights in time, especially with all the delays in the first place? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. They gotta do something else. Number 4, cauliflower recipes. There are not 4 good ways to cook cauliflower. Do you know how many good ways there are to cook cauliflower, guys? 0 good ways to cook cauliflower.
That's not true.
It's taken hold. The world is cauliflower all over the place, and I don't understand. I don't get it.
Well, I'm a picky eater, so you're definitely not going to get any cauliflower recommendations from me. I eat very simple and plain stuff for the most part, and cauliflower is not part of my diet. So yeah, I got 0 options as far as that.
Here's what my beef is, Smokey. It's that people have decided that they're going to try to, and this has happened years ago. I came back from college to here my sophomore year, and one night, my mom and sister, they found this mashed cauliflower recipe, and they know that I hate cauliflower. So they made it and tried to tell me it was potatoes. I don't know what potatoes taste like all of a sudden. One of my favorite things my whole life, and I felt lied to. And since then, I've seen it all over the world where people are like, oh, no, it's like a boneless buffalo wing. No, it's not. It's cauliflower with wing sauce on it. That's what it is.
I just Googled cauliflower, 51 recipes. We want you. Here's what cauliflower is good for. And again, I don't go to the store. I'm going to go and get some greens and vegetables for dinner tonight and tomorrow night. And, I don't do the steam stuff. Go get fresh. I won't do that with cauliflower. It's good for those veggie trays at Little Things where there's ranch dressing.
Yeah. 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 Dunkin' Ranch is the very American way of
How about this one? How about this one, Paul? Grilled cauliflower and broccoli with lentils.
I'll eat the broccoli and the lentils, but I won't touch the cauliflower. So
metal prep roasted vegetables that includes. Okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. Number 3, good Jennifer Lopez movies. As multi-talented as she is, I got to tell you, she's outside of, I'm going to say, Hustlers, which was surprisingly good. And man, I'm really scrolling here on this IMDb page.
How about Boy Next Door?
No, that's not a good movie.
That was scary, wasn't it?
People just like it because there's a love scene. Monster-in-Law, not good. It's not. Shall We Dance?
I couldn't name 5 if you gave me all day to do it. I couldn't name 5 of her movies. I can't think of one right now that even sticks out to me, quite frankly.
Yeah, I watched Hustlers, which is actually a surprisingly good movie. But
The Wedding Planner?
Selena, why I didn't think of that one.
Out of Sight's okay, but I read some of the books, the Elmore Leonard books with Karen Sisko in them, and she didn't really embody that character to me, but it's not a bad movie. But yeah, that was more of a Clooney thing than her. So yeah, no, she's just not. Look, she's fine, but
she's fine.
She as an actress, she's fine. It's not get bad, but she doesn't do good movies. Made in Manhattan. Come on, stop. Geely. Oh man, Geely. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers' scientific discoveries. I just thought I would get a little dig in for Jack on this one. I will say this to just kind of wrap up this dig on Aaron Rodgers. I wish he had better PR people, because all he could say is, look, I'm not taking it. There's a bunch of people that aren't. It's not my thing. Let's move on. Go on with it. But to try to tell the world I'm a critical thinker and I know more than you. So
we don't get it. We're not smart enough.
Yeah,
we're not smart enough to get Aaron Rodgers.
No, we don't belong in his universe. Paul, back to cauliflower from Gregory Krug in the chat room. I like cauliflower because I'm an adult. Stephen, I strongly disagree with Paul. on the cauliflower thing.
Yeah, well, look, I don't know. I don't know why. Here's what I wonder about cauliflower. Who saw that and said, I'm going to eat that?
It's actually pretty good fresh.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
And number 1, Rascal Flatts songs.
Oh, God.
There are 0 good Rascal Flatts songs. And if you think so, you are wrong. They are bad. They're bad for America.
I'm going to sit there and Google Rascal Flatts greatest hits, and there's not just volume 1, there's more.
Well, they say that. I mean, they can say those are the greatest hits. I can give you my greatest hits right now. It doesn't mean that they're great. I mean, just because I labeled it that way,
I like Bless the Broken Road.
Yeah, I don't like any of them. Look, I could also say, like, top 5 Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. Can't do it. She can say that she runs good, but she's clearly never been president. So, Rascal Flatts does the same thing.
Oh, they're a lot of, they sell, they're rich, and people love them. People love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
People also used to think the earth was flat. And
hey.
Some still do.
Yeah.
We have someone we know that still does. She's probably walking Oreo right now, and Jennifer. And was it?
Be careful, she'll fall off the end of the earth.
Kyrie Irving thinks it is as well. And okay.
No, Kyrie's clarified that. I think he's backtracked that a little bit because maybe somebody finally got to him and told him how absurd he sounded whenever he talked about it. I don't know, but I've seen video of him.
I'm assuming
it's about it.
Duke University. Like, hey, man.
Yeah, but I saw a video from him not that long ago where he was explaining himself and how he thought that at one point and blah, 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 but whatever. I was glad to hear that he had apparently, in that video at least, backed away from his flat earth claims, but
okay, when we're in space and there are pictures of Earth,
they're fake.
You only see one side of Earth and it's flat.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. That's for sure.
All right. What a week. Thanks to Jack McKenzie. He was a trooper. He went into the studio today to help run the mothership and did a great job despite my inability at the beginning to hear myself or talk, which is probably why we had our best show ever. Paul Catalina, all the things you were doing behind the scene, especially yesterday, and then Craig Smoak as well, bringing it and the heat. Thanks to our guest, we're back at it. We'll have some more evidence, Big 12 basketball and more, and see what happens. Lady Bears tonight, 7 o'clock. Baylor women's basketball tonight, 7 o'clock. 2 out of 3 next 2 days or 3 days with Texas. Baylor tomorrow, Kansas. I'm David Smoak. Have a great weekend. Stay warm. Stay safe. Good night. Good weekend. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and